You're listening to the Light Novel Podcast. Visit us online at lightnovelpodcast.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Light Novel Podcast. Tonight, we are going to be focusing on the light novel series Arifureta From Commonplace to World's Strongest. This one's put out officially in English by J Novel Club, and then they have a deal with Seven Seas, who puts it out in print. We are going to be talking about volumes 1 to 4 because that is what the recently aired anime covered, and we are most certainly going to have a bit of a discussion about said anime because, yeah. Joining me tonight, I have Flies.
Hashtag Arifureta Anime the Summer.
Bio Gundam.
Hot, 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 staying alive, hot, 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 staying alive.
So long as you have some big, like, juicy crystal.
Pretty much.
And then tagging along, it's Jean-Luc.
Hi, everyone.
Jean-Luc, we were expecting to have Mirage with us tonight, but he hasn't shown up, so we don't know if Mirage is going to show up eventually or what's happened with him. We're hoping
he's organized enough to form a small army to try and take over the Discord, but not organized enough to actually arrive on time.
Ouch!
Hey,
well,
it's nighttime over near him. So.
Well, I mean, it is 2 a.m. where he is. Yeah,
there's no excuse. I've once gone up at like 4 a.m. in the morning to record a podcast.
You're stronger than I.
Yeah, me too. Okay. So Mirage might come along at some point. Jean-Luc just popped in to say, hey, and we were like, hey, did you watch the Arifureta anime? And he was like, yeah. And we're like, tag in. We'll, we could always use another voice. So, and we said, if all else fails, just say the CG sucked, and that's good enough. So off we go.
Well, it's a fact. So,
well, yeah, it is. We'll certainly talk
about
that.
It's 100% objective fact.
So we're going to be talking some news first, and wow, there's a lot. It was kind of funny because I thought it hadn't been that long since we recorded the last podcast, but I forgot there was like some huge event, and they announced like 6 new anime things that are coming out, and like then J Novel and Seven Seas dropped like licenses within a couple days of us recording. And so, yeah, so there's actually quite a crap ton of news to talk about. So we'll get right into it. First off, as a follow-up to one of the pieces of news we talked in the last episode, the Invaders of the Rokujouma, the Kickstarter, that one ended with $165,000 and, well, $811. So $165,811. That only put it about, I think, 115,000 or so over the initial ask. They hit every single target and expanded target that they set. So a really big feat for J Novel Club, a big success to their very first ever Kickstarter, and fingers crossed that they do some other cool stuff now that Kickstarter has proven itself to be useful and successful. And hopefully, the fan base is more than just for Invaders of the Rokujouma. Next up, we've got a couple novels that are coming out. These we'll just blow through this really quick because we don't really care until they are light novels and we get them over here.
If you care, just look them up on Google.
True enough. Well, I've got links to these articles in the description down below. First off, the manga We Never Learn. Which is actually, is that currently showing as an anime, or
yes,
did that
it is.
Second season's airing right now.
Oh, second season. Okay. I knew there had been some earlier, but okay. So second season airing now. It is apparently getting a second novel coming out in December. So they had a first novel, and actually I remember it's selling pretty well. So obviously they have decided to do another one. I have no idea if these are just novelizations of the manga or if there's some kind of side story. I have no idea. Next up, this is kind of interesting. So Sakura Wars, which is a old video game franchise and had an anime and everything else, it's getting a brand new game, and now the game is getting a brand new light novel. So go figure. That is also coming out in December. And then finally, for the whole like weird things getting novels, Death Stranding, the new game from Kojima, of course, of Metal Gear Solid fame. He's hyped this game, I have like for ages, ever since he left Konami. Any case, it's getting a novel adaptation in Japan. And given that, well, yeah, I mean, given that some of these types of things we do, like this is one, Death Stranding, I was kind of like, well, if we got Final Fantasy novels, this, you never know. This one, maybe it's not entirely impossible we'll get that one. Next one that we'll just breeze through, games from light novels. The Ryuo's work is never done. This one had an anime a little while back. It's been like number 1 in Kono Light Novel Gasugoi for like the last 2 years for the Bunkobon list. This one about the shogi, the teenage shogi master who finds himself with a lolly apprentice and inappropriate crap ensues. Actually,
yeah, well, he's not called the Lolly King for no reason.
Although,
he's the Lolly King of shogi.
Although I will say that I have it from credible sources that the book series is actually quite well done, and that most of the lolly cringe stuff gets dealt with pretty early on. So clearly it must do something right, because like I said, it's done incredibly well in Kono Light Novel Gasugoi. Anyway, it's getting a PS4 game, which I thought was kind of weird, actually. I'm thinking it's just basically you play shogi with the anime characters screaming things at the side of the screen.
But, or it might be just a visual novel. Yeah,
that's kind of what I was thinking too. It's one or the
all
other.
The heroines are lollies. Oh boy.
Well, it's probably like a visual novel, and then you have to play like shogi, or it teaches you shogi, or I don't know. I know the series.
Let's pray to God that. Let's pray to God that's all that happens.
Well, I'm sure that's I don't know if it's a visual novel, but I don't think it'll
most
actually.
Visual novels are porn games. So.
Actually, well, okay, now that's not true.
Not on PS4.
I was just gonna say it's coming out on PS4, which makes you pretty much know it's not going to be that.
Usually only a PC thing. They usually don't. I don't think Sega would be too happy with that.
No, like Sony's not letting like no porno stuff on their
Sega?
station.
Sega's something else.
It's because
corporations.
It's because you have the new Sonic design on your mind.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It actually looks decent all of a
sudden.
sudden.
See, people, when you complain to a studio, you actually get things done.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Okay, so let's get into the anime adaptations, because this is actually something that is pretty cool, and a lot of it is stuff that we already have in English. In fact, I think the only one that we don't currently have in English is licensed and will be coming out in a couple months. So first off, we have the, probably I would call it long-awaited adaptation of Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like this series, man, like this is considered sort of like the archetype of modern isekai. It brought in the whole truck-kun thing, and yet it has not had an anime. And there got to be over 20 volumes of this series now, right?
Yeah.
Something, I don't even know. I know it's high. Like it's probably got way more volumes than pretty much any other isekai that's gotten an adaptation in the past couple years. So I'm really surprised it took forever, but it is indeed coming out. In fact, they say it's going to be coming out in 2020. In fact, I think most of these are coming out in 2020. I think
it's in January.
No.
Holy crap, already? No way. No, come on. They just announced this like a couple weeks
ago. The only light novel adaptation that we have that's like big name that's coming out next season is Dendrogram. And then the Goblin Slayer movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm looking forward to Infinite Dendrogram. Also, I heard the opening. I'm so disappointed. Where's my fucking death metal?
Yo, did you see the studio that's making it?
No, what is it?
It's the same studio. I think we talked about this on the podcast. It's the same studio that made the My Sister, My Writer.
Oh, that's
right. So keep your expectations low.
We talked about that last episode, because we were talking about so
I'm just very disappointed because I wanted my death metal because it would fit so great.
Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll have more death metal-ish type stuff as like background music,
that'd be awesome.
music or something. That'd be all right.
Oh yeah, and also the Mushoku Tensei anime adaptation. It's by a brand new studio, so this will be their very first anime.
Really? That I didn't look that deep into it. I just saw that it had been announced. So,
okay.
That's
it's
interesting.
a brand new one,
so,
but at the same time, like they're backed by White Fox.
Okay, so
okay, so
new.
The message
but...
of the day is be gentle while we're ripping it apart.
Like the staff did some work with White Fox and another studio before, but they were never in charge of a project. Now it's their first project ever.
Actually, didn't White Fox do like White Album or I think High School DxD or something?
White Fox did ReZero, Goblin Slayer.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the same thing as Tanya the Evil and Durarara, the second season, where like it's a brand new studio that are people from other studios that just make their own studio and they decide to make a light novel adaptation. So
yeah.
Okay, well, if they did that shit, then it maybe not be that bad.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
It looks pretty good.
Also, we have My Next Life as a Villainess. All routes lead to doom. It has been announced, and actually it's been announced as having an April 2020 premiere. That one they did. I do have that listed as to when they say it's going to be coming out. My Next Life as a Villainess, of course, put out by J Novel Club, about a girl who dies, plays an otome game. Well, actually, when I read the first volume, it doesn't say for certain that she dies, but she gets reincarnated, so I'm going to assume either that or, well, some weird crap happened. Anyway, she ends up realizing that she is not only in the otome game that she was playing, but that she has assumed the role of the villainess, who in the game comes to a bad end no matter what. And so it follows her journey as she tries to do everything she can to avoid that bad end, and hilarity and comedy ensue, and tons of reverse harem and all that kind of stuff. The first, I should read more of it, because honestly, the first volume was super entertaining. All right, next up, and wow, this one seems like super early in the, thing of grand scheme of things. Our Last Crusade, or The Rise of a New World, is getting an anime. This one, we've only just gotten the first volume out in English from Yen On. Basically, it's
did you do a review on it? I actually read the first volume.
Yeah, I just posted that. That was one of my most recent reviews. A very much Romeo and Juliet spin-off, but in this situation, it is, instead of warring families, it is warring nations, one of which is very technology-based and the other is magical-based, and about the battle, and then the two main characters who find each other in the midst of all of it. Yeah, I mean,
trust me, they're going to be fighting a lot more about each other sooner or later.
Maybe. In any case, so yeah, that one is getting an anime. I don't have a date on that one. Next up, I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level, is getting a TV anime. So that one about a woman who is, literally works herself to death in modern day Japan. And when she is given the chance to be reincarnated, she asks if she can just lead a nice, simple life, and she wants to be immortal so she never has to worry about time. And, over 300 years, she kills a lot of slimes and maxes out her level. and
then she adopts two slime spirit, which make no sense.
And gets a younger sister who's a dragon, and it goes on and on. You know what? It is like, I mean, I've only read the first 2 volumes of it, but it is a pretty chill series. I think it's just going to be one of those really light comedy type series. Nothing too crazy, I don't think. Next up, The Journey of Elaina is getting a TV anime. This is the one series that we have none of the volumes yet released. It was just licensed earlier this year. I think actually at Anime Expo, Yanon announced that they've licensed it. It's basically, we all just shorthanded as it's Kino's Journey, but with a witch. Because, really, that's kind of what it is. It's about this young witch who travels the world and to learn things and meet people and see things, and it just follows her journey as she goes along. So that one is getting an anime.
So basically, it's just episodic garbage. Got it.
Like, I don't know if it has
I've
any
heard good things about it.
I've heard good things about the light novel. I mean, again, I can't say anything about it because it hasn't come out yet. I haven't read it. I understand. Yes, I believe it is a bit more episodic. Obviously,
isn't Kino's journey kind of episodic, and everyone loves Kino's journey?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very episodic.
I've never watched Kino's journey, so therefore I can't love it.
No, it's Kino's journey is very episodic as well. Yes, it's like I said, it's kind of the same idea, right? This character on a journey, and it's about the people they meet as they go along, kind of thing. Finally, for the anime adaptations, a whole lot got announced. This one, suppose a kid from the last dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town. This one is, well, I mean, again, in the obvious titles explain the whole light novel series. That's pretty much it. Basically, a kid who is considered weak and not very adept at things in his village decides to go to the starter town far from his village, which is at the last dungeon, and discovers that living next to the last dungeon actually makes you pretty ridiculously OP compared to all of the average people. So even though he's relatively weak in his own village, he's ridiculously OP in the rest of the world. So not an isekai.
That makes me question the power scaling of like the people in his village. Like, are the people in his village just like superhuman and everyone else is like plebs to them?
That's the impression you kind of get. I haven't read it yet because the first volume actually just came out in the past couple of weeks from Yen on. So I haven't read it yet. I have no idea. I just know that's kind of the joke of it, is that he expects that he's going to go into this starter town and be useless and weak compared to everybody else, and sort of starting at the very bottom, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, what the heck is going on here? So I mean,
I kind of feel that one of the ending parts of it is that he's going to go back to his town and he's going to be incredibly strong. Like, he's going to be stronger than them because of all the experience and stuff that he has gained.
Oh, probably. That's probably going to be like the end game of it all. I think they only, like, I'm curious to check it out because it would be one of the few times where we actually have an OP main character who isn't aware that he's OP. Like, you almost all light novels, it's like the main character almost realizes immediately just how ridiculously powerful they are, and then they just become really cocky dicks, but, whatever. We'll be talking about one of those later.
That's what I was about to say.
Oh, there's a lot of, like, I have a whole, like, spiel about that entire part of the part, but we'll save it for later.
Oh, yes. Oh, there will be much to talk about later. Okay, light novel licenses. And this will be the last bit of news here, but darn, there's a couple of those too. First off, got a couple from Seven Seas. First one that we will talk about is they licensed the Invincible Shovel light novel series. It's not actually about a shovel. It's not like a dude who becomes reincarnated as a shovel, people. But
I thought it was a light novel about Shovel Knight.
No, it's actually about
I thought it was a light novel about like gravekeeping and grave robbing.
No, but it's no, and like I actually, when I first saw the title, I was like, oh my god. So we've had a person reincarnated as a spider, someone reincarnated as a slime, someone reincarnated as a vending machine, a sword, and now a shovel. Yeah, that's great. But no, it's not. It's not. So Alan is the strongest miner in the world who is able to reduce mountains to rubble with simply a swing of his trusty shovel. But when Princess Letitia begs him to escort her on a quest to save her kingdom from an invading demon force, he agrees to leave his solitary mountain abode and venture forth on one condition. She must help him find a successor to train. In this hilarious fantasy tale for fans of RPGs, evil doesn't stand a chance against the mighty power of the shovel. I can't even, man.
Like, how can the miner be legendary? I mean...
Well, I mean, if he can blow away a mountain in one hit, like...
Yeah, but...
I'm just saying. I mean, if you were looking to if you were in a fantasy world and, you wanted to dig a hole real quick, it's not like you got power tools and stuff to do that. So you could just call this dude.
Or if you want to make an underground empire, like the dwarfs did in Dragon Age or dwarfs in any other setting, if you want to make an underground empire, you could just do it with this guy. He's your man.
Yep. One swing of that shovel, baby. I don't. Yeah. Okay. I'm not too sure how much of a difference it's going to make that having a sword or having a shovel. I don't know how much difference that's going to make to this story, but it'll be interesting.
I mean, shovels, if you sharpen the edges about, they can make a decent cutting weapon, I guess. Yeah. But they're not going to really get deep into human flesh. They're more think of a cutlass or something like that. Their weapon's more to maim or break bones as they cut in. Yeah. Now, if you use the flat side of the shovel, you can probably knock someone out pretty good if you give them a good whack.
If you've read enough Tanya, you never think about shovels the same way.
Oh god, no. Oh boy.
Oh man.
Come on, pick up your shovel.
In World War I, they used sharpened shovels as backup melee weapons.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you can do damage with those puppies.
Well, anyway, at the base, most weapons come from farming tools.
That is true.
All right, next one. Before we get into a history lesson on melee weapons, Seven Seas has licensed the novelizations of Penguindrum. I'm not sure what this is all about. They licensed the manga for Penguindrum.
It's about penguins, incest, and alternate realities, and all sorts of shit. I forgot. It's been a while.
No, dude. I mean, I just don't understand why they're licensing Penguindrum. This anime was done a while back. I'm just kind of surprised that they're bringing this out. That's
what was that other thing that got licensed by the same author?
For Penguindrum? Oh.
Yeah, wasn't there something?
Yeah, he did Revolutionary Girl of Tenor. I think he did the bear one with the lesbians and the honey.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy has a really weird... He's a very alienating, creator.
Yeah.
You're either going to love his work or hate him.
I admit, I kind of liked the Penguindrum anime. It was one of those ones that even when it was over, you kind of looked at it and you were like, I don't know what I watched, but I don't think it was bad.
I think actually Penguindrum I feel is one of the more messy of his works. I think Utena is his magnum opus.
Well, but I mean, he did that how many years ago? It's pretty, I think it's hard to when everybody is, like you said, I mean, most people do see that as a stellar anime. And, when you start stellar and then where do you go? Right. So I don't know.
Well, also, with Revolutionary Girl Utena, it was less confusing.
True.
There are some shows that you have to watch it once or twice, once again or 3 more times just to fully get it. But with Utena, I got it within the second or the second rewatch at least for stuff that I missed, and it's oh, I see now.
Except for the movie where she turns into a car, but we'll just leave that alone.
That's just an allegory and a metaphor for lesbianism. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is actually. Seven Seas
everything is symbolic.
Seven Seas also licensed Yoru Sumino's I Had That Same Dream Again, which is a novel. This is the author of I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, as well as At Night I Become a Monster, which is one that they licensed earlier that we talked about and said sounded kind of cool. This one, an unhappy girl who engages in self-harm, a high schooler ostracized by her classmates, and an old woman looking to live out her twilight years in peace. What could 3 such different people have in common? That's what grade schooler Nanoko Koyanagi is trying to find out. Assigned by her teacher to define what happiness means to her, Nanoka tries to find her place in the world by exploring her relationships with these 3 strangers, and through them comes to know herself. So there you go. Sounds sort of like a bit of an angsty coming-of-age type story. And then finally, from Seven Seas, they licensed Kuma Bear light novel. I'm serious. It's called Kuma Bear. So let me read this. Let me read this to you, because when I read this to you, I know what Gundam will probably say. 15-year-old Yuna prefers staying home and obsessively playing her favorite VR MMO game, to doing anything else, including going to school. When a strange new update gives her a one-of-a-kind bear outfit that comes with overpowered abilities, Yuna is torn. The outfit is unbearably cute, but too embarrassing to wear in-game. But then she suddenly finds herself transported into the world of the game, facing down monsters and magic for real, and the bear suit becomes the best weapon she has.
Is this like a gender-flipped shoe from like Infinite Dendrogram?
Yes, thank you. I knew I could count on you to say that.
She's just missing a shovel.
And a tank.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious to see what her abilities are compared to shoes, but that's going to be, but yeah, the second I was reading that, I'm like, so what, did this dude read Infinite Dendrogram? And it was like, you know what? Cute girl in a bear suit. That is so much better.
I mean, we don't have enough furry light novels already, so let's have more.
Well, you know, it's whatever. It's all good, I guess. At least this one, you still see her face. It's not like, you know, Shoe where it covers his whole body. Because of course you have to see the cute girl's face, right? I mean, and it sounds like she can still take it off if she wants to, but that she can't because it's so powerful. But anyway. So next up, we have one from Yen Press, which will probably surprise nobody, that they licensed Makoto Shinkai's Weathering with You, which is the novelization of Makoto Shinkai's newest movie. Like I said, not too surprising considering that they snatched up Your Name, and I guess Vertical's in a fight with them to get Makoto Shinkai because they just did 5 centimeters per second and Voices of a Distant Star. So this one, originally published by Kadokawa Bunko, one day prior to the Japanese theatrical release. Weathering with You follows Japanese high school student Hodaka, who runs away from his remote island home to Tokyo the summer of his freshman year. He quickly finds himself pushed to his financial and personal limits, the unusually rainy weather seeming to suggest a gloomy future. He lives his days in isolation, but finally finds work as a writer for a mysterious occult magazine. Then one day, Hodaka meets Hina on a busy street corner. This bright and strong-willed girl possesses a strange and wonderful ability, the power to stop the rain and clear the sky. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're familiar with Your Name and the other ones that I rattled off, it's Makoto Shinkai. So you know that it's going to look beautiful and probably break your heart and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Or at least try to make you...
They can't break your heart if you don't have one to begin with.
Well, fair enough. There you go. You just got to be hard, that's all. Next up, we'll do J-Novel Club. They brought out 2 more titles that they announced. I think that was just to whet our appetite before Anime New York City, because apparently they've got a crap ton of announcements they're going to be making there. First up, they have one called By the Grace of the Gods. Under the protection of the gods, a relaxed life with slimes in another world begins. One day, the life of middle-aged Japanese businessman Ryoma Takebayashi came to a rather sudden and disappointing end. Ryoma had never had a blessed life, but after his death, 3 great gods sought his cooperation and reincarnated him as a child in another world with swords and magic. Receiving a most cordial and divine welcome from the gods, Ryoma decides to live life leisurely on his own in the forest for the time being. Working diligently at magic and hunting, Ryoma's greatest passion comes to be researching his tamed slimes. Training a variety of slimes, some newly discovered, the curtain rises on this easy-going life fantasy, celebrating a second life with kind people in another world. So, yeah. So it's another easygoing slime life type thing. Next up, the Underdog of the 8 Greater Tribes. Long ago, there was much war and bloodshed among the 8 tribes of the world. Now, with each tribe confined to its own continent, the world has achieved peace and harmony. Interaction and fighting between tribes are heavily restricted, save for one exception, the ninth continent, Dual City Babel, an arena for those wishing for conflict in peace. In the Dual City, fighters from all over the world clash swords and spells, vying to be the best. Carrying on the teachings and techniques of his master, Yuri Eniostar of the human tribe manages to take out a high-ranking opponent on his first day. Clearly, he's not just any new face, but unfortunately, fate has not been kind. His lineage is universally recognized as the weakest. I got nothing to say about that one either. That's
next board.
Okay, so, well, the last one, licensing, and I don't know if this one bores you or not, but Soul Press came out of nowhere and licensed Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
Oh, thank fucking God. Something to look forward to.
Never heard of it.
Did you say never?
Never heard of it.
Like, he's been begging for it for years. And, never heard of it. Oh,
I heard it was some weird. I heard it was some ripoff of Asterisk War, so I didn't bother.
I was actually waiting for official translation of this because the fan translation PDFs I have stop at like volume 8, and I think it's volume 9 where they.
No, you're gonna.
I'll have to cut that out.
You have to censor that out so that.
Spoilers, dude. It'll be like, because volume 9's where they beep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So that's why I didn't actually dive too much in the fan translations I have, because I actually couldn't find it in PDF format.
Yeah. So this one, Iki Kuragane is a blazer, a person who can materialize his soul as a weapon. Unlike most blazers, however, his aptitude for magic is virtually non-existent. Branded a talentless failure and nicknamed Worst One, he has spent his life honing his swordplay in order to become a mage knight nonetheless. Stella Vermilion is the second imperial princess of the Vermilion Empire and a powerful rank A blazer, having spent her whole life undefeated in battle as a result of her incredible natural talent. She travels to Japan in search of powerful opponents, hoping to grow ever stronger and become an accomplished mage knight herself. The two meet at Hagen Academy, one of 7 mage knight schools in Japan, and soon realize that they share the same goal: to become a powerful mage knight renowned for their hard work and skill, regardless of their talent. In order to reach that goal, their first step is to meet in the finals of the 7 Stars Battle Festival, a no-holds-barred tournament that gathers the strongest student knights from all 7 schools across Japan and fight for the title of 7 Stars King. Can Iki and Stella fight toe-to-toe with even the strongest of blazers and achieve their dream of reaching the peak of knighthood? So what's kind of interesting about this is that Soul Press is releasing volumes 1 to 3 all at the same time, which I don't know how to feel about. And actually, by the time you listen to this podcast, they will have come out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. And actually, this is one of the few like fucking generic like light novel series that actually that has a pretty decent romance. So I'm looking forward to it. Also, I like swords, so there's always a plus.
I'm also looking for it. Like the anime really caught my interest. So
I didn't get a chance to see that.
Also, the anime OP was pretty cool in that, like, their use of fucking colors and shit, and like some of the cinematography. Like, Chivalry of a Failed Knight anime is way better than it should be, than it deserves to be.
Yeah.
Well, it was good. Like you said, like the use of the gray tone with a single color, like they really nailed it, and not just in the opening. They also used that method in the last 2 episodes. So really great.
Have you watched the anime, Justus?
No, actually, I didn't, because, like you, Flies, I was hoping this one would get licensed. Well, okay, I mean, I don't know enough about it to say I was hoping it would get licensed. I just thought it might get licensed, especially when Asterisk War did. So I've not even looked into it a little bit, because you know me and my policy of don't watch it until I can read it.
Well, the anime only covered the first 3 books, so since they're releasing all 3 at once, you're pretty much catch up.
Maybe that's... So maybe that's why they're releasing volumes 1 to 3 right away.
I was thinking either that or like they got the rights to it like over like half a year ago and we're just keeping quiet.
Well, they must have gotten the rights to it for a little while ago because I hope they did, because honestly, to translate 3 books all at once, like, dude, it's probably going to be a god awful mess if they rushed it. So I'm kind of hoping that that's what they've done, is taken the time and done it right, and then just dropped the bomb that, hey, we got it, boom.
And volume 4 is already in the editing room. Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah, well, according to their latest update, yeah. So,
and disappointingly, like the physical release isn't actually coming till next month.
Boo!
Well, it's only a month behind. Their other physical releases at first were like,
take like
6 months
or
a year. Yeah, so yeah, it's, you know what? This is going to be. I mean, I want to be an optimist, but to me, I think this is the series that makes or breaks Soul Press. That's my opinion, just my opinion. Because if they can pull this off and do a great job of it, the fact that it's got a pretty dedicated fan base, the fact that it is a much longer series than much else of what they have. I mean, if they can pull it off and they can do a good job and they can release it at a regular pace, I think it'll really help to solidify their reputation in the fan base. Right now, I think the fandom, from what I was seeing reaction wise, is a little cautiously optimistic. People are happy we're getting it, but they're kind of like, is it going to take 8 months, a year between volumes? Because I'll be dead before the series is done.
I mean, worst case scenario, Sam from J Novel Club can just like swoop down and steal the license.
I don't.
Not sure it's that easy.
I was going to say I don't really foresee that happening, but no. You know what? I have to think that this series was not an easy get. That's my opinion, again, because I'm just basing that on the fact that no one's gotten it up until now. So I kind of have to think that this was not like an easy buy, and I'm thinking Soul Press had to have proven to the Japanese publisher that they had something up their sleeve to really make this work.
Yeah, because I know that face is a big concept in Japan, and if you fuck up once, your company will not be trusted.
Oh yeah. Well, and especially after the whole bubble burst back in 2008 with Tokyo Pop and stuff. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why it took so many years for us to finally get back on track with getting light novels. So, like I said, I think this will be a series that could be a really great thing for Soul Press, because, like I said, it's popular enough that it's gotten them on the map, and that people are watching. And if they do a great job and they keep the releases nice and regular, I think it's going to go a long way to really establishing them with the fandom. And I hope it works out.
Yeah, same here, because I can finally take it off my bingo board.
And then you know what? After that, there's like a couple manga announcements, but whatever. If you want to check them out, just look in the comments.
We're a light novel podcast. We don't give a fuck about that. We don't give a fuck about that shit.
The manga podcast.
Well, I know, but they're manga based on light novels. But whatever, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just a regular
manga
Magic
podcast.
High School.
It's called Manga Pod. They're actually pretty decent. You guys should check them out.
Wow, check the shoutouts. Nice. Okay. We'll just do that one episode. We'll just do shoutouts to everybody out there. So, in any case, we shall move on to our discussion of Arifureta.
Now, on the plus side, we kept the news segment under an hour. So,
actually, yeah, we did. I'm kind of surprised. We did kind of blaze through a lot of it. I must admit, when I was putting together the list of all of these things, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be 2 hours just to get through the news. But so that's good. Okay, cool. Arifureta, let's talk about this. So, like I said, series is put out in English by J Novel Club digitally. This back in the day before J Novel printed their own books, they were making deals with 7 Seas, and 7 Seas was releasing the J Novel Club translation in print. So Arifureta, because it was one of J Novel's earlier titles, got included in that deal. So 7 Seas is releasing the print books, and like I said, J Novel Club is releasing it in ebook. And it is the story about Hajime, who, along with his classmates, is summoned to another world to fight demons and the demon lord. I know. Keep up if, I'm try to keep up, guys. I know this is all new stuff, but try and keep up.
We're hitting the new horizon here.
Yeah, we're going to get there eventually. In any case, all of his classmates receive super ridiculous cheat abilities and stuff like that, whereas Hajime finds himself with the most mundane job of all time, synergist, which is not considered unique in any way, and he isn't even like high stat synergist. He's like average.
Yeah, I think they failed to check the wiki.
So
well actually synergist, it's actually not that bad. Actually, we'll go back in that later. Fuck it, just edit this part out. Never mind.
We'll talk about why synergist actually becomes useful, but it's not that it's not a useful trait. It's just that it's not unique. Like, they actually do have synergists that work for the kingdom and stuff like that, but we'll talk more about that anyway. So Hajime is kind of looked down on his classmates. He was already bullied and stuff for being an otaku and falling asleep in class and stuff like that. And
he's also a beta male, so the people are going to pick on him because they view them he's weak and he's an easy target.
Yep, exactly. And so as they're training, part of their training is to go into this labyrinth, and the labyrinth, they end up tripping a trap. They get teleported down to a much deeper floor than what any of them are prepared for, and they face this incredible beast called a behemoth. And of course, all hope looks lost. Hajime throws himself into the fray, using his synergist abilities to the height of his ability to slow the behemoth down so his classmates can escape. And when they fire off fireball magic to sort of give him a chance to try and escape, one of the students, who is jealous because one of the really cute girls, Kaori, likes Hajime.
There's a scene that we need to talk about that, but we'll go into that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Anyway, he basically rigs it, and Hajime falls deep into the labyrinth. And from there, Hajime has a whole bunch of horrible crap happen to him, which we can talk in more detail. But to sum it up, basically, he fights his way to survival, and eventually, in his fight for survival, becomes ridiculously strong, teams up with a super cute lolly who is also ridiculously strong, and they begin a journey to effectively fight against the gods of this world so that they can find a way for Hajime to get home.
You forgot the part where he transformed into an edgelord, but,
Well, I kind of figured we'd talk about that when we're talking about the character, because...
we'll definitely get to it.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Yeah. So before we continue, I'm just going to say this right now. Now, if Weta is absolutely fucking generic garbage and do not think it's anything else, it is by the numbers as you can come. But despite that fact, it is. I personally find it incredibly enjoyable, and there is some aspects about it which are at least decent or stuff that I feel that we can dive deeper into.
So would you say it's your guilty pleasure?
I don't feel guilt, so no.
Well, yeah. Well, having seen only the anime and read a bit of the manga, it's halfway through a guilty pleasure, maybe.
I don't think that it's. You know what? I mean, I read the first 3 books a while ago, and then I just finished the 4th book because we were going to be doing this podcast, and I realized as I was reading it, I was like, this isn't that bad, especially in comparison to a lot of other light novels. There are definitely some things about the writing that I do not enjoy. I mean, if we're going to talk about the light novels themselves, the author has this horrible, one of the great sins people talk about in writing is telling instead of showing, which is basically we just tell the audience what happens instead of letting actions and stuff like that speak for themselves. And the author has this annoying habit of having someone walk in the room, he'll describe that person, and then he has to add this sentence, "This was Hajime." And it's like, no kidding, dude. I've been reading about this guy for 3,000 pages. I know it's Hajime.
Oh, dude, is this the same writer behind Strike the Blood? Because he does the exact same shit.
Oh, I know he does. I know. I hate it.
Whenever we do Strike the Blood podcast, we need to fucking mention that, because holy fuck does that get annoying.
I know, and that's what I mean. Like, and he does it so much. Like, there's only one bunny girl in the whole damn series, and he has to announce to us that this was Shea. No kidding. There's no other scantily clad bunny girl with a massive mallet. Like, I don't need you to tell me.
It's kind of like some other series where, like, they have a prologue for each volume, but the prologue is pretty much just a recap of the entire series up to that
fucking
point.
Shield Heroes prologue, like 50 pages of what's just fucking happened, despite the fact that I just read it like a fucking
they're going to add a few extra new details, so you pretty much have to force your way to read it.
Yes, it's like those crappy recap episodes back in like the 1990s on anime where it's like a 24 episode long series, and at like episode 12 or 13 they would do a recap episode, but there was still like in the 24 minutes there was like 9 minutes of new material that if you didn't watch it, it wouldn't make sense what happened after that.
Well, it still happens.
Well, I know it still happens, but it's not, I don't find it as bad. I usually find now what they do is they just tag on like 3 or 4 minutes at the end of the episode. Whereas like in the 90s, man, it would be like you'd watch 4 minutes of filler that's like recap, and then 3 or 4 minutes of stuff you need to see, and then another 5 minutes of recap, you know, like you had no choice but to watch the whole damn episode. It was just Anyway, I digress. But yeah, that's the one thing about this series. I was reading it. I'm like, okay, it's not awesome writing. I mean, he doesn't write a fight scene as good as, say, Omori does in, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? I don't think he quite expresses his character's depth of emotions the same way that Nagatsuki does in ReZero. So like there are better light novels that are in terms of writing, but it's still not as bad as some.
Well, I mean I know I say generic crap, which it kind of is, but I don't mean it's necessarily bad. Like there's a good base to build off here. It's a real edgelord power fantasy. That's what this really is.
The plot isn't terribly original, but it at least is enjoyable enough to keep you interested.
Yeah, this is the key word here, folks. Enjoyable. All right, enjoyable.
Well, that's the most important thing. Something could I could read whatever being generic, but as long as it has enough of something that I'm enjoying, I can push myself to keep reading it.
I think what makes this work, and I mean, maybe we're probably jumping ahead, but
maybe we should reel it back into sort of the start. I think we're going far off the edge.
Yeah, we're going right into the overview of the entire series. Yeah, so we'll just dial it back a little bit. Maybe talk about Hajime and his journey a little bit first, because initially when I read the first book, this was something that set it apart for me. This was something that made it a little bit more interesting, as you say, and entertaining than a ton of other OP main character fantasy isekai type series.
Yeah, I would agree, because the fucking first volume was just oh my! It was so gritty and brutal, and it's like the eclipse from Berserk. It's just Oh, what's the word to describe it? It's just so gritty and brutal and just.
Like the stuff that happens to Hajime, like when he goes down.
I wish I could
labyrinth.
find the words. I can't find the words to describe it, but it's almost like. You continue.
Well, I mean, okay, so I mean, Hajime, how many? I mean, when we really think about it, how many main protagonists have their arm ripped off and lose an eye? In the first volume, not even what that happens to him, halfway through, not even halfway through. I mean, he loses his arm he loses the eye towards the end. Pretty much as soon as he gets
trapped.
Yeah, but the arm he loses
his arm
right away.
first, and then he loses the eye during the fight because he had the vampire, he had you with him. So he lost his arm first, then his eye.
Yeah, his eye was later. It was towards the end of the book, before they beat the labyrinth. Yeah. But I mean, right away he gets his arm torn off and is basically on the verge of death. And I kind of think I think this was the thing. Basically he doesn't want to die.
I realized it. Realistic. That's right. Realistic. Like,
as realistic as a fantasy series like this could be.
Yeah, realistic. Like, because if you think about, like, he is in mass amounts of pain, he's going into shock, he's got like fucking adrenaline pumping, and how the series like captures that is fucking amazing. Like, they capture the fear and the dread that he feels. He's like, I'm gonna die, but no, I can't give up, and just through pure adrenaline and shock, that is he able to try and get away from this bear, and that's it, realism. That's the word.
And I think, well, and I think too, that this is one of those ones, and I mean, we kind of, we said the same thing about Shield Hero in a sense too. It's one of the few light novel series with this kind of edgelord main character that you get it. You understand why he is kind of the way he is. I mean, he falls into this labyrinth. He thinks immediately that he's fallen because of, he kind of knows that it wasn't just an accident. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of knows that this is kind of like machinations against him. He's tried to do his best and be the good guy and do the right thing. And for it, he gets tossed into this labyrinth. You know, he gets immediately like dismembered, and you understand why he hates the world, why he's angry, why he, you know, one of the things most of all, he doesn't want to die because he doesn't want to die in this garbage world that is, you know, treated him this way. And that, you know, he couldn't even, as an otaku of all things, he couldn't even live an otaku dream of getting an isekai and being OP. He has to be this low level piece of garbage and still be bullied and treated like crap by his classmates. You know, like, if anything, it made it worse.
And it's completely understandable. Like, for example, if you got fucking shot down into this dark fucking cavern, had your arm and eye ripped out, and the only thing that's keeping you alive is fucking pure adrenaline and your will not to give up and to survive no matter fucking what. I mean, you tell me what type of man or what type of person you would become after living through all that shit.
Well, it's true. And that was the one thing that I, you know, when I read the first volume, that was the one thing that I was like, okay, you know what? Here's a journey of this kid. And this is the reason too. And we'll be talking about the anime throughout this episode because the anime...
Can we also talk about the stuff with the classmates and the conspiracies and stuff as well?
Oh, absolutely.
You mean the stuff the anime completely skips over?
Yes, I'm very annoyed about that, by the way.
Yeah, that's like, I didn't get it. Like, if you're going to go in detail as much as they did a few episodes later, why not just start by the start? Like,
yeah, John Luke, don't worry. John, I will take you all through this deep dive. Then I will peel back the layers.
But before we go somewhere else, I just wanted to ask you something. Like, having read the novel, did you feel like his transformation to edgelord was too fast-paced, or was it all right? Because, like, in the manga, I felt that it was like a bit fast-paced, and in the anime, well, you start with the edgelord guy, so it's
So
basically, it didn't feel that rushed, because like the novel makes it clear the passage of time, because like he's in that little hole that he digs after getting his arm ripped off for like almost a month, like 3 weeks or something.
It's a long time.
By the way, he's starving as well. By the way, we should mention that. Like he's also starving as well because the average human body can go at least without a month without food. Now the good side is that he does have access to water, so he's not completely fucked. But eventually, he's going to get hungry.
The whole idea, of course, is that he's got that mana stone or whatever, right? That because it's liquid mana, which basically that is what sustains him, and that's why he doesn't die from the blood loss on his arm.
It's also why he doesn't die from dehydration, because a human can only go a normal human can only go 1 week without water. After that week, you're dead. So
but I mean, getting back to John Luke's question, I mean, we could talk about how he survives, but no, like, I agree with Flies. Like, in the book, and I think the thing is that because the book is sequential. Like the book starts off with Hajime with his classmates. Like you see him, you know, doing his best to try and become the best synergist he can. You see him doing all sorts of research on the world because he's like, even if my powers can't help my classmates as much, if I have knowledge about the monsters and the geography and everything else, I can be a big support and a help to them. So you see this kid, like in the book, you see this kid who is this really good kid and is working so hard, like killing himself basically to try and be the best he can, even though he's treated like dirt by his classmates. There's this one particular classmate that bullies him probably worst of all, and we do find out in the book it's because that bully has a thing for Kaori, and that's why he really hates Hajime.
Well, actually, the scene before that happened, I want to we'll mention that later. But there's a particular scene that like kickstarts that particular conspiracy. But we'll go dive into that later.
So because the book, like Fly said, the book makes time a lot more significant, and because too in the book, you're not distracted by really god awful CG and crap.
The problem with the first episode of the anime was that it was too dark. It's like you could barely tell what was happening.
Yeah,
and then like it didn't give you that sense of time. Like it didn't even, I don't even think it bothered to like show a subtitle saying like 2 weeks later or whatever. So like
no,
it felt like he was only in there for like a couple hours or like maybe a couple days.
Well, and I think too that the anime really fails to grasp the emotional state of Hajime, as well as he, you know, first off sees that rabbit monster kill the wolves and everything else, and then and it fails to grasp really what's going through his head and his emotional state the way that the book did. Like the book goes into a lot of detail about, you know, his mental state, both as he's running and then when he's injured and then as he's laying there in that cave. It goes into a lot more detail about his frame of mind and the passage of time, and basically how, like, you know, by the time he crawls out of that cave and decides that, you know, he's going to crawl out of that cave, he's basically broken. You really get that sense with the book that he is basically, his mind has snapped, and that, you know, at that point he's basically just become a monster. You know, like he really is only concerned about survival and taking vengeance on all the things that have caused him to be so afraid and so upset and so angry and everything else. Like, Jean-Luc, I do think the book does a lot better job of that. Like, I'd say the book does that. Like, if we're going to talk the book series in general, especially if you've watched the anime, the books in general do a way better job of outlining and fleshing out the motivations for all the different characters and the different emotions and feelings and everything else. Like the anime, I felt rushed and blew through a lot of that crap.
Yeah, the anime, like there is like there is some good things here for Arifureta, and I think a great quote for Hajime, just describe it, is this quote, and I put it in the chat. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times.
The cycle of life, man. But I think that is the thing about Hajime, and like I said, that's why when I read the first book, that was where I was kind of like, you know, for me, I liked it because so often in light novels, anime, the OP character starts off OP. You know, he arrives in this world and it's like, oh, look, you've got God abilities, have a nice day. Or, you know, or he discovers them super quick or stuff like that. This was the other thing that kind of like I felt was kind of the same with Shield Hero, right? Where you watch the character start from low and nothing, and you watch him bust his ass to get strong. And so, eventually he ends up in OP territory, but you feel like the character's made that journey. You feel like the character has earned those abilities and has suffered for them.
Yeah, and also for the thing with Hajime, he's no longer the same human being. He's no longer the same person he once was. I mean, constantly throughout the book, even though he wants to go back home, back to Japan, he kind of wonders, like, can I fit in in modern day society, in first world society, which is relatively safe. Like, because he's in this like survival of the fittest, social Darwin. He was like trapped in this like social Darwinist survival of the fittest like hellhole, and he's incredibly strong. And he's like, would I be able to fit back in Japan? Because this is one of the things that series, when you go to another world, don't tackle, is that what happens when you go back home, but you still keep your powers. You still have your powers. How does it change you? How does the experiences and things change you? Like, because Hajime, he views himself as a monster because that's what he became to survive. And he's like, do I even deserve to go back home? Do I even deserve all this stuff? I mean, how many lives have I taken? How many of this have I taken? How many people have I murdered, slaughtered, and killed? You know, do I even deserve happiness?
Do come back home.
Well, I know, and that's...
Did he really regret killing many of the people that he ends up killing?
No, some of them he does.
I don't think I ever got the sense of that.
Well, I mean, I've only read the first 4 books. Some of them later.
He does, but it's more like I had to do it kind of regret. Like, I wish I hadn't had to do it, but I had to, so fuck it. But you kind of get this feeling that even though he's dreaming about home, he's like, I'm different, I'm changed. And like
I was thinking the reason he was thinking that was because now he literally has a mechanical arm and eye and shit. So like if you just somehow got someone back to Japan, he would look kind of awkward, wouldn't it?
It's not just that. It's also like because people can see it as well, that he's changed, he's different, he doesn't fit in. Aside from the white hair, the eye patch, the robotic eyes, because like you can feel like the loss of humanity. And other people can sense it too. Like some of the people that are like he's walking past, like they feel afraid of him or shocked, or like they can sense the loss.
I think too that the thing about this book is that you can see, and this was where and again, like, you know, this is just even the first book. I think the other thing is that when Hajime is really getting stronger, when he's sort of, you know, gotten himself together and decided that he's not just going to lay there and die and he's going to fight back. He's also the only human being. Like, there's no one else there to question morality. There's no one else there to question what's right or what's wrong. And it really is like he's dealing just with beasts that it's like their instinct is kill or be killed. And so it isn't really that shocking that shapes him as a person. And yet when he finds Yue later on in book 1, and he now has a sentient person to talk to, like an actual, you know, she's not human per se, but you know what I mean. You know, when he actually has that, you do sort of see him start to soften a bit. You do sort of see him kind of regaining a little bit of that humanity and that appreciation of being with someone else. Like, you know, and that's where I kind of liked that first book, because there was this nice sort of journey of this kid who was the super nice guy who, you know, despite being treated like garbage, was trying to help out and be as useful as he could, who then ended up in hell and basically shred all of his morality and everything else, just decided to become a part of the world he was in, which was kill or be killed, be ruthless, don't worry about the consequences as long as you survive. And then he meets this other person that sort of helps him find a little bit of a better balance between those two extremes, you know? And I think too, like that was where when Shea was introduced in book 2, initially I was like, oh my God, this chick is like so annoying. I just want to punch her in her bunny ears, you know? And I thought she was there just for comic relief. But towards the end of book 2, even, you get the sense that no, Shea is the even more human person, the more moral person that even is helping Yue kind of soften a bit. And you know what I mean? Like, she's like that, finally, that kind of person that helps to soften both Hajime and Yue and kind of get them to come back to morality and you know, being able to live in a society instead of just being only for each other and, you know, that sort of dog eat dog mentality.
I think it's also because Yue, because he finds out about her past, and that she pretty much has went through the same shit that he has, being betrayed by people that she once trusted. And she's been trapped underground for a lot longer than he has.
Yeah.
So I think it's like 300 years or some shit.
He kind of sees that like connection between each other.
Oh yeah, it's 300 years because he says that's when the vampires went extinct. And also
another thing that I think is really cool, I think that makes a lot of sense, is how you views Hajime and why she is so clingy to him. Like, if I was trapped down there in a cave for 300 fucking years, you better damn believe that the first person I meet who fucking frees me is going to be my best friend for life.
They become a lot more than just best friends.
That's true.
Hey,
they
best
do.
friend, lover, I don't care. Like, they're the first person I've seen in 300 years, then fuck it, I don't care.
Well, but like you said, I think that, it is that, and that was, again, like, I talk a lot about Volume 1 because the later volumes, I think, are still decent and they're still enjoyable, but Volume 1 was the one that I was kind of like, oh, I really like this series because it's different, and it had this really great chemistry between Hajime and Yue that, in a lot of light novels, you're like, it's a harem right from the get-go. Boom, who's the main character going to sleep with? Who's he going to choose? Who's he going to end up with? And you kind of know right from the very beginning, even if Hajime ends up like having other girls in a harem, Yue is still the one. She is still his mate, right?
Yeah. I kind of wish there were more like male main characters that were in his like main party, like, because I feel like the harem takes away some of the aspects, because like in the first volume, like, yeah, he's softened up a bit, but he's still this like pragmatic, fucks given, zero, nomadic, badass Shinibyo edgelord, fuck with me and you step the line, bang, you're gonna get smoked. And I feel like as the series continues, and if he fucking gets softer and softer and softer, I'm just kind of like, I like the part where you're just giving like fucks to the wind, give no shits, kill shit, I want to survive.
Then there would be no such thing as character development if he stayed an edgelord from beginning to end. And like I'm completely fine with Yue like bringing out the humanity back to him.
I don't mind him having some humanity,
so angry all the time.
Listen, I don't mind having some humanity, but I still like the part of it in Volume 1 where he was this, like, care to the wind, fucks given zero, just
he still doesn't.
Through.
He still doesn't give fucks. He literally tells people that, like, anybody who gets in my way, I won't hesitate to kill you.
Dude, he blows away that demon chick in book 4. Like, at the end of book 4, he's like, "You're my enemy, and goodbye, bang."
All right, never mind, fuck it.
And like, I still think there's definitely those aspects to his personality, but there are things that happen, like, I mean, when we're focusing on the first 4 books and what the anime covered, I mean, like the whole introduction of the character Miyu in Volume 4, I mean, tell me Hajime in Volume 1 would not have rescued a little girl and then not only rescued her, but then dismantled an entire, like, underground organization and kidnappers and robbers and stuff like that, just basically because they messed with some little girl that he took a shining to.
You gotta think about it. He fell in love with a lolly vampire, and now he's showing fatherly affection to a mermaid girl?
Yeah.
He's clearly a closet lolicon.
Well, okay.
Oh boy.
Well, it would explain why.
Yeah, that adds whole new layers to his character, because
layers.
Well, I mean, it would explain why he's so like nonchalant to Shea and to Tio.
or the school
idol
Kaori who likes him. By the way, in Volume 1, there's a scene where I think it's Kaori or Koari.
No, it's Kaori, so it's like Kaori.
I can't. My Japanese is shit. I'm just gonna say childhood friend K. There's a scene where she goes into his room and she's like dressed in like a sexy like white nightgown, and they're like talking and stuff. By the way, they were talking in that room for an hour, and the dude that has a crush on her that shot a fireball at Hajime, he was watching that. He actually saw her go into Hajime's room, and he was out there watching outside the door for an entire hour. And then she walks out the door, and I think there was like a scene in the anime or in the novel where they describe that she's like sort of shifting or like sort of adjusting her nightie or something like that.
Yeah, that was the novel. The anime didn't really. I don't think the anime did that at all.
Yeah. Actually. So by the way, here's the key words here. Saw a girl that he liked in like some lingerie or some nighty like thing, go into another boy's room. She's been in there for an hour. And he by the way, he's still outside the door. He hears nothing, but he knows that she went into the room. She comes out an hour later and then starts adjusting her nighty / lingerie. So, want to guess what he's thinking what happened?
Oh, well, I mean, we know what he thinks happened.
No, that part was in the anime. It just wasn't very clear what happened. Yeah, because it was one of the many random flashbacks back to a random point in time that the anime decided to confuse viewers.
So anyway, so we're establishing that, and he sees this shit, and he's like, "Oh God, fucking damn it!" It's like, I wanted her, and now the virgin loser otaku has like claimed my prize. And he's like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get revenge. It's all a fucking misunderstanding, you asshole.
Also, since the anime didn't make it clear, there's actually 2 different reasons why people shit on Tajime back when he was on Earth and shit. It was one because Kaori was showing him affection. Mm-hmm. So
and Hajime was being like a beta male and didn't
Kaori's showing him affection because of some shit that happens. Like, I think it's in like a bonus chapter of Volume 4 that I forget. But she starts to like him, so she always wants to show him affection. So all the guys who have a thing for Kaori get pissed off at him because like, oh, he's like, why is she paying attention to some nerd? But then he knows that they're pissed at him for that, so he like purposefully ignores her or like makes excuses to ignore her. So then all of her friends start to hate on him too, because they're like, geez, why are you ignoring her? Like, she's trying to talk to you, man. So like he's kind of like fucked either way.
Yeah, half the problems could have been solved if he just fucking manned the fuck up.
Well, isn't the reason why he would always sleep through class because his not just because he's an otaku, but doesn't his parents have like a job that he helps?
Yeah, I think his mother or something like that is like a shoujo mangaka or something. I remember there was a side story where they wrote like a guide for him how to survive in an isekai scenario, if I remember correctly. Like, I think his mother and father are like otakus or like involved in sort of like that industry.
So like he kind of just wants to eat his food and sleep in class, but like this cute girl keeps bothering him. But like whether he ignores her or talks to her, one group or the other group has a hate boner out for him.
Well, I think that, and again, I think the thing is that Hajime himself doesn't realize, like, I think he believes that Kaori is pitying him. That she's just a nice girl who's showing him pity. And so it's not even a matter of him manning up and being like, oh, I'm going to go out with this girl because she's got the hots for me. He can't believe that she does.
I don't mean man up in that way, but just kind of just like tell her honestly, like just say like, hey, I'm not interested. Like, if you want to be friends, that's cool. But anything beyond that is like, no, thank you.
Yeah, but if he thinks she's pitying him, there's no reason why he would like explain the things.
Yeah, like I don't think
I would. I mean, I don't want your fucking pity.
Well, like, it might be a societal thing.
Well, I mean, it could be a societal thing. I think it's also just it's just showing you the character of Hajime, right? Like, he is relatively a meek character. And even when you look at that bonus chapter in the end of Volume 4, the whole thing that Kaori gets involved with him, or like, falls for him, then it's kind of a moment where like, he basically intervenes to save this grandmother from being bullied, but he basically does it by groveling. So like, you kind of know, like Hajime, even before he became an edgelord, Hajime's way of dealing with things was kind of more passive anyway. So I don't think, like, I think to him, like, trying not to show a lot of interest in Kaori, like, I don't think that's even a matter of him not liking her or whatever. I think that's just that he's like, she'll never be interested in me. I can't be, too rude to her but at the same time, if I show too much interest, I'm going to get the crap kicked out of me.
Yeah, but from what you're saying, like, it makes a lot more sense, the development toward like his transformation. Like if you compare it to what I read in the manga and what I watch in the anime, it like his change of mind didn't make that much sense. Well, did make sense because you go through rough time, you change, but what you're adding in detail, like it kind of makes sense that he would end up that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's the problem, is that the anime in a lot of ways, the issue with the anime, other than like the really garbage CG job on it, is that it shortchanges a lot of the emotional impact of the story.
Yeah, and also we should, and it also takes away a lot of like the conspiracy theories and stuff, and a bit more of the depth there. Because by the way, when they get transported to this world, the bullying that Hajime gets, it gets a lot more fucking worse and nastier. And should we also talk about what synergists can actually do? Because I think that's also important as well.
It's basically a magical blacksmith. Like he can use like the earth to like make like stone walls and shit, and he can like combine like materials.
Yeah, but the thing is, like from a medieval standpoint, I can understand why that like that synergist job would be maybe like underrated, but from people that come from our world, like you can see already like the potential. Like why is nobody like thinking, hey, we can do such amazing thing with that skill?
Yeah, I always thought that, actually, if I remember correctly, like, a synergist is almost like, he's like an alchemist from Full Metal Alchemist. Like, if you, like, because that's what he does in the Labyrinth. He starts, like, transmuting the ground to make, like, pit traps for monsters, or, like, to basically trip them up, or, like, hold them still so his classmates can kill them. Like, he actually uses the synergist skill in very imaginative ways. And, in fact, some of the knights and people are actually rather impressed about his creativity, and they're like, I had no idea the synergists can do that. Like, a lot of people in his his class wrote him off because, like, he can only make weapons, you know? Oh, by the way, you're in a medieval world which uses what? Oh, weapons. Oh, shit. It's like, yeah, you're gonna piss off the guy that can fix your shit? Yeah, good luck with that.
They're not very bright.
No.
Well, also, these are teenagers and kids. They have a lot of animosity to these guys. And what happens when you give teenagers superpowers? It doesn't end very badly. It ends very badly because these are children. These are kids that have just been given this power. They're overpowered right off the bat, and they develop an ego. They get arrogant, and their power basically controls them. Like, they get powers, and they just bully Hajime head on because he's like, oh, he's weak, he can't fight back. But, you know.
Well, I think the thing is that it just shows you that despite the fact that they find themselves in a really crazy situation, it doesn't change the pecking order of the school. You know, it doesn't change the hierarchy that they had in class. Like, all those things still kept going on. I mean, even like you get to book 4 and it's been, you know, over 4 months since Hajime fell, and I don't know how many months they were there before he went into the labyrinth and fell. Obviously a number, because, you know, he had learned some skills. But even then, you know, you're talking like several months later, Koki is still the, you know, head of the school, is still the head of the group, basically. You know, his group is still like the main vanguard and everything else. Like, you know, all those cliques that you see in high school still existed. It didn't change, which I think is why, like, it's really telling. And, you know, when you get into book 4 and you get to the end of it, and Hajime's like, don't get the wrong idea. Like, we're not comrades, you know, like, we weren't even friends.
They're more like acquaintances. Like, acquaintance would be the most generous term that Hajime would give to these people. And after all the shit that he went through, like fuck him.
Well, yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. It makes sense when, and that's why, like, one of the things that I really hated about the anime was that it really rushed over and breezed over the whole aspect of what he went through before he fell. And to me, like, that was what made me care about the character in the first place. When the anime starts off, I mean, it's just some crazy kid being all frightened, running around, and you're kind of like, who the hell is this guy, and why do I care? You know, oh, he got his arm ripped off. Well, sucks to be him, but what do I care? Because there's none of that build-up that we've had in the book.
Yeah, and speaking of, like, the development of ego and some of the conspiracy theories, now, should we reveal like the spoiler that the gods are kind of douchebags in this, or should we save that for later?
No, I think them being assholes is kind of relevant to this early in the
all right,
series.
yeah. So basically, the gods of this world are assholes. Big shocker there. And how I feel this ties into the conspiracy theory is that, like, because the god summons them directly, like the god summons them here to this world, and I think. And oh, by the way, I should mention this. So the god that summons them, guess what his goal is? His goal is to have a good time. The classmate, yes, you hear that right now. The people that he summoned, they are just pawns on his chessboard.
Well, that's
so
basically...
he's just a normal god, okay.
Well, I mean, I think that's the whole thing. And like, that's what we end up finding out. And that's where, like, I admit, like, when the way volume 1 ends, when we have him in the bottom of the labyrinth, finally, they've cleared the labyrinth. They're finally getting sort of the backstory of what's going on. That was actually a really great hook to me in terms of this book, where it was like, you know what? The whole story ends up becoming this much larger thing where, yeah, there were people that had very powerful magic that actually realized that they were being used as pawns in this war, and that the gods really didn't give a crap who won, just as long as they were entertained. And that these liberators tried basically to revolt against the gods, and then created these labyrinths when essentially the gods conspired to have them wiped out. And they created these labyrinths as a way of hiding themselves and also hiding the magic and the knowledge that they had obtained. To me, I thought that was a great hook for the series.
Yeah, same here. And how I feel this ties back into conspiracy. Now, if I remember correctly, the powers that they got came directly from the god of the humans, I think. If I remember correctly, the power either came from him or... whatever their affinity was, they just got it depending on type of the characters. Anyway, we'll skip that. So the thing that I want to talk about is that when Hajime dies, or he quote unquote dies. Now imagine you're a god watching this story play out. Now let's just imagine this. Imagine this is your backdrop. Oh, woe is me. Oh, Hajime the hero. He was the weakest of them all. Yet he was the most bravest. Look at his noble and great sacrifice. And because of his sacrifice, the heroes and stuff were able to slay the Demon King and Demon Lord. And people will tell stories of his bravery and heroism. Sounds like a great story, isn't it? But guess what? Hajime didn't die. He's still alive. And he ain't weak anymore. And I feel that some of the conspiracy stuff that happens, it's that god whispering into those kids' ears. Like, some of the stuff, because think about it, he gives all these kids with superpowers. They're controlled by ego, emotion, they think they're tough shit. And all he has to do is just say, like, hey, that kid you don't like? Like the guy who likes Kaori. All he has to say is, that kid you don't like? You could just kill him. And he's like, oh, gasp.
But there's that whole on-running conspiracy with Hiyama, which is the guy who tries to take out Hajime. And there's this shadowy figure that we assume is one of the other students.
It is.
That they are and conspiracying.
She's involved as well.
Don't spoil things, dude.
I'm not. I won't say the name.
But there's also this ongoing, like, conspiracy there, too, right? Where it's like they have... even the students themselves are manipulating each other and being manipulated by the demons, right? Like,
yeah, and also you have this god whispering in their ears. Like, some of the shit that happens, I think is directly his involvement. All right,
I'm sure.
Because think of how quickly shit accelerated from I'm jealous, we're gonna beat this guy up, to like I'm gonna fucking kill him. Like, clearly, someone is egging this person on. Now, that does not take away from the consequences of what this person done. Now, by the way, I will say that all the bad shit that all these characters do, they get what they deserve and triples. Trust me, they get their just desserts and consequences for their actions. But I solely believe that some of the tragic shit that happened was this fucking god's fault. Like, he's egging them on and manipulating them all, because what is the greatest entertainment story of all time? Tragedy.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I'm sure there is I'm sure there is more manipulation going on. I mean, clearly, by the fact that it was directly the gods who wiped out the liberators, we know that the gods can act directly in this world, that they're not just some, they're not like just some benevolent thing that people worship, but it has nothing, doesn't interact with the world or doesn't do anything.
Now, on the plus side, they're not omnipotent. They don't know everything and see everything. So that's Hajime's saving grace. But guess what? He survived. And the god's like, fuck, he ruined my tragedy. How dare you?
Like, I mean, I think that's regardless of whether it has to do with, Hajime ruining that, or whether it's just the fact that Hajime becomes so strong that he cannot be ignored by the gods and he becomes a threat to them.
I think it's a mix of both, and I know I know that me diving into it was a bit jumbled, but I hope the audience will bear with me as I explain this. But I feel Hajime and the Liberators, they both represent a different type of freedom. And by the way, Arifureta Zero is actually quite good. I actually quite enjoy it. It sucks I know how it's going to end, but whatever. We'll get to that later. So the Liberators, they sort of represent, they are freedom and like the freedom of change. They are like, we are sick of this society. There's a better version. There's a better society out there, and we're going to make it. Fuck you guys on your golden throne. We're going to tear you down and restore freedom and liberty back to humanity and all the sentient races. It's time to, it's time to break the chains, as they say. Now Hajime, he is freedom like a force of nature. He is like, how dare you, he's just like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if you're strong enough to stop me, you can. But if you're not strong enough to stop me, you're going to fail. Because if you look at like Hajime, he isn't like some rebel freedom fighter fighting for freedom. He isn't raising like an army of demons to battle the gods. No, he's just a force of nature. He's like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And if you have the power to stop me, then try. And if you can't stop me, then I'm just going to continue doing whatever I want. And there's a freedom to it. There's a purity to that. Like he is freedom in the most unadulterated way possible. He just cuts through the bullshit. Like, I don't care about your political situation. I don't care about morality. I don't care about morals. If I want to walk down the street in this particular direction, then fuck whoever is going to be in my way. And if they're strong enough to stop me, then I guess they're strong enough to stop me. But if they're not, then bang.
Well, I think you could make the argument really that the Liberators are... Now, I haven't read Arifureta Zero, and for those in the audience who aren't familiar, Arifureta Zero is actually the prequel series to Arifureta that tells the story of the Liberators and the people who created the labyrinths, hence why Gundam said we kind of know how that story ends. However, I think the Liberators, when you put it that way, the Liberators sound sort of like those people that tried to make society better, but tried to do it as a force of order, whereas Hajime is like that source of chaos. And, he's like that chaotic good, right? It's like and you can't even say he's chaotic good, because what he's doing is pretty much entirely self-serving. He's not really he doesn't care about society. He only cares about himself.
He's more chaotic neutral. Yes. Than he's more like chaotic neutral, but he's like a force of nature. That is the type. That is like there's different types of freedom, Justus, and freedom means lots of things for different people. But if you want like a pure version, one of the most purest forms of freedom, it's that's Hajime.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
He's like a force of nature. Like, can you control a tsunami? No, you can only brace yourself for the impact. You can't stop a tornado, but you could possibly survive one.
Well, like I said, it kind of ties into that idea of what happened in the labyrinth, right? And I think that's where everything kind of goes back to that, is it's like, yes, he shed a lot of those things that inhibit our actions. He shed because there was no place for them if he wanted to survive, right?
Well, listen, might is always right, and if you had like there's consequence to every single action you do, but if you have enough might, then you don't have any consequences to bear. I mean, look at when Hajime took on that underground organization. for a regular dude, that would be like an impossible cat and mouse fight to the death kind of scenario. In fact, you could probably make an entire D&D campaign, like years-long campaign, just about that. But Hajime, he's like, just kills them all. He is the hurricane. He is the earthquake. He is the tsunami. He is the very air. He is the very darkness. He is the boogeyman under your bed. He just wades through it, and he's like, "What? You're here to stop me? Then try." Oh, you failed. Fuck you. Punch.
Yeah,
oh,
man.
He's dead. Oh, another guy. Bang. He's dead. Oh, weakling / stab kill. Oh, vampire lolly. Thunder wave.
It's got, well, I mean, even the denizens of Nazareth took longer to dismantle a criminal organization.
Yeah, they're also a force of... They're similar to Hajime, and the fact that they're a force of nature.
Okay, so, I mean, we've talked a lot about volume number 1, and I think, like I said, I think it's because volume number 1 is the part where when you read it, you think to yourself, like, this series is different. It's got a great hook at the end with the whole thing with, like, the labyrinths and fight the gods and blah, 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 or, you know, that kind of stuff. And it has this...
It's got a very sort of, like, SMT Nocturne-like feel to it. Like, it's very much like, rage against the heavens, rage against hell, fuck them all, you're strong, you're a force of nature!
And you've got this really good relationship between Yue and Hajime. You've got this character that has become OP, but you're kind of like, you know what, man, you've gone through hell and back to get it, so I don't really hate you for it. But then you get into, like, volumes 2, 3, and 4, which... you know, that's where, like you said, it becomes much more...
It just goes like...
Well, it becomes, like you said, it becomes a lot more generic, right? We have... That's where the true harem aspect of the series comes in. That's where the goofier comic relief comes into things.
Which, honestly, I'm like... I think I was saying this in the Discord, like, in a discussion... where, like, we're talking about how we would fix Arifureta, and I honestly feel like that I think Hajime needs more fucking male companions.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would help him with his, like, problems, because men bond through, like, doing stuff together and stuff like that, and I feel like Hajime maybe having, like, another male, or, like, maybe having another male character like that, they can, like, bond with him
male
and stuff.
Characters don't
because,
sell
like,
as much merch.
I know, that's the annoying part about it. But if you want this guy to be, like, better, it'd be good for him to, like, have a male companion to be around with him, someone to bond with him and something to do stuff with him. Like, not like a bro, like, kind of like a bro. Like, he needs a bro.
I kind of thought it should just be him and Yue, like, you know...
Or at least add a female character that doesn't end up falling in love with him. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I'm really annoyed at that. Like, come on. He can have, like, if he has a couple of girls... that like him and are sweet on him, that's like, I don't give a shit. But it's like, does every female that has to join his party need to fall in love with him?
Can I go on my short little rant? Because I've made this rant many times in the Discord in chat. The first volume, when it's only Hajime and Yue, the author, like, goes beyond, like, over the line, trying to express that they are in love with each other, to the point where they, spoiler alert, the anime shows it, They fuck like rabbits by the end of the first book. They're already, like, dedicated to each other. They're like, I want to be with you forever and you're the person for me. And then every other volume after that, they add another female character to the cast. And then, of course, if they have boobs and they have a vagina, they're going to fall for the main character. Except the author, at least for the first 4 volumes... Hajime, like, turns them down. He's like, yo, sorry, I have a girl I'm in love with. So the author was like, I kind of fucked myself over there. Now, how else am I going to make this super generic? And, like, oh, I got an idea. Let me take Yue, who is also in love with Hajime, and just have her offer the other girls to fuck the main character and make her a pushover. And, like, I was reading it, I'm like, what? Like, you had something good going. Like, you had a series that looked like it was going to be generic, and you had at least, like, a romance that was going to be, like, decently well written, and then he kind of just, like, fucks it over to, like, there's literal scenes, I think it's starting in the 3rd book, where Yue pretty much goes up to Hajime and is like, yo, Hajime, can you, like, fuck Shia for me? because like she did a good job. She helped out with that fight, so she deserves a little dickin'. And Hajime's like, why? Hell no, I don't want to do that. And she's like, oh come on, like it just like I don't know. It's so weird.
I no, you're right.
Yeah, I also agree. Like the first relation with Yue was okay. I could buy it. Like with Shia, like the fact that she follows them, it's alright. But the fact that she always wants to like one up Yue and be like the main girl, like that kept like it was bothering me after a while. Like just drop it. And then he just like the other just does the same thing after that.
The major thing is like it wouldn't have been as bad if Yue herself didn't just become a pushover and like support him having a harem.
Well, I mean, he still could have had. I mean, he still could have had. I mean, it wouldn't have been a quote unquote harem because they wouldn't all be lusting after him. But I mean, Yue and Shea, like in book, I guess it's book 3. Because it's after, is it in book 2 where they're it's just the 3 of them and they're in that town together. I guess it's book 2.
When they stay in the town.
I think it's book 1.
Yeah, and like
it's book 2 and book 3 because in book 3 they leave
right?
that in because
okay, so it's they're kind of showing this relationship between Yue and Shea where the two of them are kind of becoming like sisters, where like Yue's kind of being the older sister to Shea, right? Like I think if they had left off Shea's romantic feelings for Hajime and just had her be like a sister figure for Yue, I think that would have worked.
That would have worked better.
Yeah, like I don't think that, and like oh my god, and then Tio,
that's I don't know from my perspective, like the horrible CG just ruined that character. Like it's
I just couldn't believe they showed Dragon Sphincter. Like I was like,
what? And then there was the conversation in Volume 4, in the beginning of Volume 4, when because Shia was such a good help in the battle at the end of Volume 3, they go on like Hajime kind of has to agree to go on like a little date with her, and then Yue and Tio have their alone time, and even Tio's like, "Yo, are you okay with him being alone with her? Like, I thought like he was your man," and Yue's just like, "Oh yeah, it's okay if he fucks other girls because I know I'm always his special one," and that kind of just reminded me of the. Does anyone here watch South Park?
No.
You know that episode where recently. All the elementary school girls were getting pimped out by Butters?
What? No.
It's pretty it's pretty much reminding me of like, oh yeah, they're all his girls, but Yue's his bottom bitch, so it's okay.
Oh man.
And I'm like, ugh.
Well, and that was the thing, like I said, and that's I think actually I think that's the one thing that would have worked really well if they had met Shea and Shea had been like a sister to Yue. Then they could have introduced a dude who was like a bro to Hajime, and then the bro and Shea could have hooked up, and it would have been all good.
Oh, dude, no. Like the Tio, the dragon, she could have been the
yeah,
bro.
Exactly.
Why couldn't she be a guy?
Yeah, that would have worked. Although it would have been even
that would have totally
been more uncomfortable when he jammed the spike in his.
That would have been it was uncomfortable either way.
Oh, dude, that was really uncomfortable. Like even the anime made it worse.
I like how the anime version didn't pull any punches and decided to show full penetration for like a good 5 minutes of screen time.
Like that was really cringy. I just even with it being a bad CG dragon, I was cringy. I was just like, oh my god, I can't even.
Like, dude, you know how I would have done this? Like, I would have made Tio like this, like black dragon samurai like looking character. Because if you look at Tio wears a kimono and stuff, like that would have been awesome. Like, have this like straight laced, honor bound samurai black dragon thing. Like, wouldn't that be awesome as fuck?
Well, yeah, and like I said, it would have balanced.
It would make a great counterbalance to. It would make a great counterbalance to Hajime and his no fucks given pragmatism, because he could be like like honor, like he says like Hajime, they're unarmed, they can't hurt us anymore. I will not kill them. I gave my word. That could be a really cool dynamic.
It could have been, and I think that's the thing. Like with, again, it's the problem that you always see, right? Is like you said, flies. You have volume 1, and I remember reviewing volume 1, and I was like, holy crap, guys, it's a friggin' isekai light novel where the main character hooks up with a girl and they are actually in love, and there's no harem and there's no nothing. Then people are like, Justus, wait till you read book 2. And I was like, God damn it.
You could tell just by, you don't trust the series where different cute girls on the cover of every single volume.
I know. Well,
like, what, you think those are just his friends?
Well, I kind of...
Hey, they could be friends with benefits.
I kind of thought that, I knew that somehow there was going to be some romantic tension with Kaori, because I was like, she's obviously got a thing for him and she's going to run into him eventually.
I wouldn't mind the love triangle part.
That would have been
the other
okay,
female characters,
at least Kaori has
the other female characters. You're either friends or helping.
Yeah,
and also the Black Dragon has to be a bro. By the way, this is our fan in here.
I wouldn't trust the cover too much. Like, look at Strike the Blood.
Strike the Blood's the same girl every... Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
It's the same. It's the same girl on every volume, but the series, like, he still has an harem. So,
well, yeah, but I mean,
no, he doesn't he doesn't like them. He just uses them for their blood.
But it's not like volume 1 of...
Yeah, they're more like his herd. He's a true vampire lord.
But it's not like...
but like he still has kids with 2 of them. So.
Hey! This ain't the Strike the Blood podcast
that we know of.
No, sorry. Okay, anyway.
Can we do Strike the Blood like in a few months? Because I really want to talk about that series. I want to talk about the adventures of Calcodula.
We'll probably get to it at some point. In any case, there's a big difference between having a harem of girls and like actually in the very beginning dedicating yourself both body and mind to one girl. Like that,
I don't.
You forgot Soul as well.
I don't like when a series starts off with something good and then like out of nowhere just like changes things up. Like if you're gonna make a harem series, like make it clear from the beginning so that I know, so I don't have to be like, oh yeah, I'm actually getting into this like actual romance, and like I can know from the beginning, like, oh, don't take it too seriously because it's like 10 other girls are going to show up later in the series.
Hey, did someone say orgy?
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first light novel. I think you're right. Like, there was a real missed opportunity. There was lots of opportunities to bring other female characters into the story to sell that merch, but they didn't have to be love interests.
Listen, this series has so many missed opportunities that it's like driving face down to a cliff face.
Well, I think the problem is that you do definitely see where the author falls into the trap of having to include archetypes, like you've got Yue, who's the cool-headed lolly, then you get Shreya, who is the bubbly, big-boobed girl, then you get Tio, who is the perverted, like, sadomasochist.
Insufferable masochist.
Oh, God. Like,
think about Darkness from Konosuba, but, like, strip everything likable about her. Yeah. And just leave the masochism, and that's it.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with archetypes, like, inherently, because it makes a good, like, baseline, but it has a good baseline, but after that, like, you can develop your characters however you want. And I feel like with some of the characters, there's a lot of missed opportunities to develop them in interesting and different ways. It's like, oh, yeah, it's the big boobed rabbit girl. Oh, it's the quiet lolly. It's like, oh, it's the dragon masochist flamethrower coon. It's like...
Well, I at least like how she first came out, like I thought she was going to be, like, really annoying and useless, but she actually is, like, somewhat competent and a good teammate.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that was kind of the thing, like, where I'm kind of like, I don't mind Shreya. I don't mind Shreya as part of the group because she does add a different personality to, like Hajime and Yue are very similar, right? They're that, kind of stoic, quiet, F the world kind of thing. Shreya being that more like outgoing and, excited, and especially because you know, to her, like, she's seen the world, right? Like, this is not just some journey of revenge and, you know, vengeance and destroy the world. And, you know, for her, it's more like a...
I would be fucking giving this book a 10 out of 10 if it was, because that'd be amazing.
Well, the problem,
like,
especially
I'm
with...
imagining, like, Hajime hunting down all his former classmates, like Assassin's Creed style, and they're like, oh my god, it's you, and he's like, bang.
Well, the problem, especially with the anime version, is that they completely skip pretty much half of the second book, which basically is all of Shia's, like, screen time and like how she lives and shit.
Oh yeah, like that's the I couldn't
like
I was really
Rabbitman
surprised.
Village is pretty much thrown into like a 2-second flashback, 2-second slideshow, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I really hate that, because like in the book they go into a bit more detail about the politics of the Rabbitman Village, or Hajime training them from pacifist to this fucking like Spartan 300 army.
Yeah, that was in the manga. That was interesting.
I love the part, like what I loved in the show, like in the book, is they show a part where they damage a flower and the rabbits are like crying for it, and he's basically saying like, get back to work, like I'm gonna make you warriors and you guys are gonna train, and it's so awesome.
Did they include the flower scene in the anime?
Yeah, they did.
I think they do.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, he stomps on it.
No,
and they
the biggest shame of the anime is they cut out my favorite part of the second book, which was like the edgiest shit I've read ever. Where
which part?
When Shia first meets Hajime and Yue, and like a couple of the Rabbitmen are escaping in the cavern, and then he kind of saves them and he leads them out, and there's a bunch of like slave traders. I don't understand why they cut this out, because I think the scene, like as edgy as it was kind of important for Hajime's character development. But like there's a bunch of slave traders, and of course since demi-humans are seen as lower than normal humans, they're like, oh, we're gonna sell them to people in like the cities or whatever. And then they look at Yue and they're like, oh, because like Hajime's being a smartass, he's like, yo, I'm gonna take that little girl of yours and I'm gonna sexually assault her in front of you before I kill you. And then as soon as he says that, Hajime is just like, nope, and just takes his gun and fucking like starts murdering humans like left and right, like no hesitation.
Yeah.
And like especially if you look up the scene in the manga, it's just the funniest fucking panel, because it's just like this guy acting tough, and then the very next panel his brain matters all over the fucking ground.
Oh.
And like the reason I say that scene was important,
it looks like he bit off more than he could chew, I guess.
The reason I say that scene was important was because all of volume 1 Hajime was only killing monsters, which is like he's just trying to survive. But that scene of him not hesitating to kill even humans is pretty much where like, okay, he's crossed the line, like he ain't going back, and they completely skipped it.
Well, I think that the anime certainly, I think, softened a lot of stuff. Like the number of times that Hajime hits Tio in volume 3 and 4, like slaps her or whatever. Like, it's uncomfortable, actually, in the book. And I'm not even just saying that for the sake of it being assault. I'm just saying because then Tio starts moaning in ecstasy, and it's just really uncomfortable and cringy as hell. But, you know, like...
She's like, beat me harder, master.
Yeah, like, oh, it's just, come on. Like
the fact that it's like as disturbing in the book as it is in the anime.
Oh, it's worse. Worse.
Yeah, it's more often, and I find it funny how like they have that whole arc, and she's just being annoying the whole time, and then they have the little bonus chapter at the end to tell you her sad backstory, and I'm like, at that point I'm like, okay, I really don't care, because I already can't stand this chick.
Yeah, I mean, it is just, it's really cringy, and like I said, and it happens often in the book,
so repeat gags that lose their steam after like a few cases. And another cool thing I really liked is when he's finished like the Rabbit Man Spartan 300 training, they want to come with him, and I was getting like vibes like, oh, is he gonna have like an army with him that follows him around? That'd be fucking awesome. Because whenever I think of that scene, I think of the Imperial Guard song from Warhammer 40k. Like I'm just imagining him like marching off singing the song, and Hajime's like in the front, and he's just like sighing. He's like.
Well, I mean, you never know. Like, you know, at one point he's going to have to fight the gods. Maybe the rabbit men will come and help him out. I don't know, but
that would be epic. Should we talk about what's next? We should talk about Volume 3 next, when he meets up with some of his classmates again, because there's a really good, there's quite a few good scenes in that volume.
He meets back up with his lolly teacher and the chick.
She isn't a lolly; she's a Christmas cake.
Ooh, spoilers. Also falls in love with Hajime.
Spoilers. Yep, she also gets a thing.
I liked
her.
Wants
the Christmas cake, so Hajime will take her then.
Like, yeah. Okay, so yeah, and you're right, Flies. I think book 3 was probably the best adapted by the anime, even though it included the really cringy dragon bum scene. That was really
CGI ogres as well, God. And CGI motorbikes and CGI.
Oh no, it's not
so much fucking CGI,
dude. The Humvee actually didn't look as bad.
It wasn't the garbage CGI, dude. It was the fact that, like, they showed Dragon Sphincter and then showed penetration, and then she's like, the way she was screaming and moaning. Oh my God!
I just not really 5 or 6
basically we got like uncensored anal on television. That's amazing.
Like, it just went on. Like,
I was like, because like that scene was long enough in the book. And I was kind of hoping, the anime is going pretty fast, so hopefully they cut down on the screen time of that. They did not.
No, they did not. It seemed like they gave it more time than it really needed. Oh Lord.
Now, Justus, do you remember the one of the big things that happens? And there's a few things in Volume 3 I want to talk about. So number one, because basically what happens is after Hajime gets killed, and the tragedy and the god's just lapping it up as like, tragic story, entertaining. Quite a few of the students get a bit shell-shocked, and they're like, fuck this bullshit. We're not going to do that. Like, one of our own classmates died. Like, we were not exactly friends or acquaintances or anything like that, but, he still died, and he sacrificed his life for us, and I don't know how to feel about that. Like, did we even deserve that? I don't know. So some of these students are going with their teacher because their teacher's got farming ability or some shit like that. It's fine. She's a Christmas cake. Like, no one's going to loot her. And they're just following out here through the countryside, improving crops and shit like that. And when they go to this town, they encounter Hajime, and they're like, oh, he's not dead. And oh, what's that robotic arm? And oh, what's with the white hair? Oh, what's with the eye patch? And oh, what's with these 2 chicks you've got with you? And he also tells his teacher a bit about what's going on about the gods and stuff. And there's this scene he has with this one girl in the class. She goes up to him, like, I think they're alone outside. He's like staring at the barracks because there's like this army of like monsters that are going to invade like the next day after or some shit. And she says to him, I just want to apologize and thank you for your what you did like a few months ago. Like, you really saved our asses and stuff like that. And Hajime just kind of just looks at her and just smiles, and he says like, okay.
Well, it's more personal than that, because
she's the one that was like about to die before Hajime
he saved her
specifically.
Sorry,
I forgot that. I forgot that.
I can't remember her name, sadly.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either. So she basically thanks him personally for saving her, and you feel this is very genuine, because when Hajime shows up, like, a lot of them are like, oh shit, like, we picked on this guy, or we let him get bullied and we did absolutely nothing. Like, are we at fault for what he has become? And I'd say no, not really, but, inaction is also... maybe they could be blamed for inaction. Who knows? We're not here to play the blame game. But the second most important thing that happens is one of Hajime's classmates has gone rogue, and Hajime, being the cold, calculating pragmatist, puts him down.
Yeah.
Just
bang,
blows his brains out. And I was like, fuck yeah!
Like, if there's one thing I like about Hajime is that he's edgy, but he doesn't take shit. Like usually a generic protagonist would they'd forgive, you see plenty of protagonists forgive people for doing fucked up shit just because they're the protagonist and they can't be totally evil. But his teacher begs him to forgive the kid, and the guy can survive, but he pretty much bullshits her and tells her, he wasn't gonna live anyway, and he just kills him off because he knows that he's gonna betray them later again if he lets him live.
Oh yeah.
So he makes the quick decision and just like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Chaotic neutral. Bang.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is. I
fucks given 0. Yeah. Bang.
Well, I think that was one of the things that the anime did really garbage. Was that, first of all, I don't think it really explained Shea, because Shea in the anime tackles Aiko, the teacher, and the dude who's threatening her with that poison needle or whatever. I don't think it really explains, because in the book, it was Shea had some kind of future sight, and so that was why she jumped and grabbed Aiko out of the way. She wasn't just acting randomly. I didn't really get the sense of that in the anime. Like, it just kind of seemed like Shea was just like, look out, and grabbed her.
Yeah, I didn't get the sense that there was something else than just reflex.
No, in the book, if I recall right, isn't it that she sees like the flying monster that he tries to get away on eventually, that Hajime shoots him off of? Isn't it that that flying monster like actually grabs them and kills Aiko, I think, in the process? And so Shea, that's why she jumps in to tackle Aiko out of the way, because she has that forward vision or whatever.
Yeah, and also, like, Hajime will know if this guy is genuine or not, because his fucking bunny girl waifu will just say, like, nah, he's bullshitting. I see a future where he tries to stab you in the back, and all of you guys. Like, he's a, like, do you want to go more in depth what happened to that guy? Because I do feel slightly bad for him, but at the same time, I feel like he's another victim of these machinations. He's another victim. He's another fucking tragic, not exactly tragic, but...
Like, how much do they give us? Like, I know that he was kind of like, he was part of the students. So basically, like, Aiko had negotiated with the king that any student who did not want to fight would not be forced to. And, because she couldn't convince them to just let them go home because, screw you guys. But, so he was part of the students that had decided not to fight. Right? Like after Hajime's supposed death. And I don't remember much out beyond that, other than like he went cuckoo cuckoo about talking like how he wanted to be special and he wanted to be powerful and he wanted to,
and he wanted pretty to much like promised him power and to, like, sway him over to their side. He was pretty much easy to manipulate.
It is that thing I talked about, like ego and special, but he is powerful. Like, he's got power. He has it. I mean, he's a dark magic user. He's able to control monsters. I mean, for fuck's sakes, he was able to control Tio for an amount of time. Spoilers, by the way, Tio was brainwashed by him. Like, he does have power.
Now, did he have that power exclusively on his own, or was he
I think
amped
it was the
up
demons
by the
that
demons?
Gave him most of the power.
Like, I thought the demons amped him up, if I recall, but I'm not.
I think they gave him a boost, but I think most of it, like, he got the, I think, because if I remember correctly, he was like practicing with it as well. But I think the demons like showed him new ways to use his power, or gave it a bit of a jump start. But he has these like grand delusions of, oh, I'm going to be the hero, I'm going to be the main character. Because what these demons do is they play on his insecurities. Because despite how strong and powerful he is, because he is by far a weakling. I mean, if he was dropped back into Japan, he would be a very frightening opponent. All right, he'd be an incredibly frightening opponent for anyone to fight. Even black belt martial artists will definitely have to watch themselves around this guy. But it doesn't matter how much power you have if you as a human being are too weak of character to control it, or you are just so easily manipulated, because these demons and these gods, they're playing on your weaknesses.
Well, and with him, like, I kind of think that that's also playing on that idea that he's being shown that humans are weak and the demons are strong. And that's the other aspect to it, right? Is that the demons have promised him all this power and everything, but he can actually see that the demons have that power. Whereas humanity looks like it's on its last legs. Like, I mean, it's depending on a bunch of high school kids to save them from disaster. Like, it's pretty clear that humanity's desperate as all get out. And I mean, then we see in book 4, like, yeah, no kidding. I mean, one demon basically almost wiped out the entire heroes party. You know, like one demon controlling a bunch of monsters and like their whole race. Like, how does humanity survive against that?
His reasons are understandable, but he's still a douchebag.
Oh, dude, like he's absolutely a douchebag, and especially when he says, "Oh yeah, the only thing I had to do was kill you," and I mean, you take a look at Aiko is like this super like doting, loving teacher who her first priority along the whole way is her kids and their students and trying to keep them safe, and she even has that conversation with Hajime.
Yeah, she should get if they ever go back home, she should get the fucking Teacher of the Year award for the amount of shit that she's had to go through. Like, she has earned her paycheck.
But book 3 I think goes a long way to trying to show how Hajime can still be that edgelord. I don't give a crap about anything. I mean, like we said, he blows away his fellow student at the end of it, but at the same time,
and that was so shocking. Like, all the people just stare at him. Like, in the book, they just stare and they're like, "Oh God."
I think what Justus is trying to say is that, like, he's still an edgelord at that point, but there are a few characters here and there who treated him well when he was still on Earth. And you can see that he kind of softens up near them, like Aiko Sensei. He never seems super hostile towards her. He seems to open up a lot around her because she knows that she actually cares about him.
Well, and he even goes to that extent, remember, of basically saying, like, what I'm about to do, like how I'm going to take out all these monsters, is because I'm the sword of the goddess. I'm the sword of Aiko Sensei, right? Because he figures that if I make her popular enough, the church can't go against her. Right? Like if she is a hero of the people and people worship her in her own right, it'll grant her protection from the machinations of the church and the machinations of the kingdom, right? Because people will take her side. And that's why he pronounces to the people, he's like, yeah, this is why I'm the sword of the goddess. It's Aiko, right? And then he proceeds to wipe out, 60,000 monsters. So it shows that. So to me, like, it was kind of interesting because you have this reminder.
Well, she also has those. She has those 4 powerful knights that are going to protect her as well. Like, they are loyal to her no matter what. And I actually think, because of machinations, I think they also get killed as well because they will not stand down.
I don't know if that happens later on. It doesn't happen by the time you finish the 4th book.
Yeah, because she doesn't really get screen time in the 4th book.
No, in the ending chapter where she gets kidnapped and stuff. Like,
they're not with her. She's just alone in that. She's just walking along in the hallway when she gets kidnapped at the end of the 4th book.
It's weird that they weren't with her. Maybe they were killed or something?
Maybe. If they did, it was off screen.
I don't think so. Like, I think it was just meant to be, like, they were assigned to her, I believe, to escort her outside of the castle, but it's not like she had a guard with her, like, 24/7 because she's in the castle.
They actually, if I remember correctly, that was the original mission, but then they decided that, hey, this girl's doing a lot of stuff. Let's just do a vow of personal honor to protect her and shit. So she's always got like her own band of paladins protecting her.
Well, they don't say anything in the book. There's nothing to indicate that they're harmed.
And also, they don't mention them ever again. I actually think they got killed. I honestly think they actually got killed.
Or
they were faceless guard characters. Not that
they're red shirts. They were the red shirts of Arifureta.
I know, but I honestly do believe that they probably got killed because they would not back down.
You wouldn't think so. But I think,
like, even though they're a bit douchebaggy, I mean, these are honor-bound knights, and this is their charge. Like, fuck the church and this shit. Like, she is our charge, and we will die to make sure that she is safe.
I think also the thing about Hajime killing the student at the end of Volume 3, they make it clear that part of his motivation for that is considering Aiko's, her own emotional state, where he kind of is like, well, if he's dead and I kill him, she can be angry at me and people can blame me for it. And that way she doesn't have to live with any guilt that he could come back or that he goes further evil, or like, I know that he's going to come back and he's not going to change. Like, he will betray her again. And so by making sure,
I mean, at that point, he's just so far fucking gone.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like there's not like he's the type of person that you want to throw into like in a mental asylum for like a few years just to see if you'll even out or not. Like, will he even out? Will he? I don't know. But at that point in time, like, no, he's too far gone.
Well, and that's the point. And I think that's where Hajime recognizes that. And Hajime's like, it isn't just him taking this kid out because the kid is, quote unquote, his enemy, because really, who's the kid to Hajime? What are you going to do, kid? Raise another 60,000 monsters that I'm going to kill? Like, whatever. Like Hajime, it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, he's like, thanks for the snack. He's like, thanks for the snack, kid.
Right? But he knows that kid is going to be a threat to Aiko. Like, the kid's already, gone to an extreme length and was willing to wipe out an entire village just to try and take out Aiko. So he knows that.
And he even tried to poison her with that knife and shit.
Yeah.
Like, well, even though she was giving him a chance.
Well, technically he did.
I mean, and she was willing to forgive him. Mm-hmm. Like, she's willing to, like, come back. We'll try and get you back to the person you was, all right? Yeah. Like, she tried to give him mercy, and he just, like, no, I'm going to kill you. And Hajime's like, fuck that shit. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, and I think that's, and as I said, even though, it's kind of an edgelord thing to do, and it's, kind of a very Hajime thing to do, his motivation behind it is not his usual. It's not the same motivation as when he blows away the demon in Volume 4, right?
Should we talk about Volume 4 soon?
We should just, because, we're already over 2 hours.
To it real quick.
So, okay, well, we can segue into Volume 4, because we just talked about how he blows away the demon in Volume 4. So, Volume 4, I mean, like, really, Volume 4, it has Hajime getting Miyu, like finding this abandoned girl who has been kidnapped and then basically wiping out the kidnappers. And
I thought it was pretty cute. It's like, oh, Hajime's now a father, and she's like, Papa, and it's like, oh, this is so cute. It's almost, it's actually kind of warm and fuzzy.
It is, and like, the funniest, and again, it shows you where, I mean, depending on how you like your Hajime, but it at least shows you that Hajime is still capable of having a family, or, like when he has people that he cares about, he is still like that good guy, that warm guy, that guy who protects everybody, right? He's not some edgelord that truly cares about no one. He's not as far gone as, say, Naofumi in Shield Hero, where it's like, well, slap on a slave tattoo or I don't trust you. You know what I mean? Like, like for him.
I mean, if there was an option, I think Hajime probably would have done it for some people.
Yeah, well, but I don't think that Hajime
put his classmate to put his former classmate to work. The dark magic
technically, guy. Technically, Shia has a slave collar.
But again, but it has no power. It's just a symbol. And again,
well, technically, neither does the one from Shield Hero after like the first book.
Wow.
It's
but even then, like, Hajime is so OP that he doesn't need any slave thingy. Like,
no, that's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
you betray him, boom, you're gone.
But that's what But I'm just saying, like, Hajime hasn't fallen to the point where he doesn't give people a chance. Like, even in, so...
Yeah, you only get the one chance, and if you ruin it, then boom.
Like, I mean, in book 4, we have the heroes party still trying to... I had to laugh. I'm like, so Hajime basically has been out of that labyrinth for months now, and you guys are still on the 85th labyrinth. Floor. Yeah,
They're
right?
Still not even...
Yeah, you guys haven't even cleared... You guys, there's like 10 of you, and you haven't even cleared the first labyrinth, and Hajime has not only cleared that one, but already cleared a second one. I'm like, okay.
Like, the thing that I found weird is the passage of time in there. Like, it's... Let's say a year passed, it would be a bit more believable, but...
4 months. That's what they say, that it's been 4 months since he fell.
Yeah, I actually feel like Hajime encountering his classmates was a bit too soon. I think it should have been a year. I actually think he should have encountered his teacher after a year or two, and then encountered the rest of them after a year or two.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, there's sort of pros and cons, I think, to both, right? Definitely, like you said, the pro is it would make a lot more sense that Hajime has done all of these things over a little bit more time than like, hey, it only took me a month and a half to basically turn a bunch of passive rabbit men into killers and conquer another labyrinth and, do all this other crap. Kill 60,000 monsters, whatever. Like, I agree that, yes, it probably would have made more sense if there was a longer passage of time. But I think the other thing, though, is that especially with an author trying to hook up the whole harem thing more in book 4 with Kaori joining them, I think the thing is that the authors kind of set it up where there is definitely an emotional issue the longer that these characters go on, right? Like, the longer that these characters believe Hajime is dead, the bigger a problem it's going to be. The more deprogramming that you have to try and explain away, because if they've spent a year with the church and with the knights and everything else, and like, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be so...
I feel like Kaori holding on to Hajime being dead for a year to 2 years seems kind of a little unrealistic.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, 4 months does not seem unrealistic, especially, you know, I think most of us that are, you know, a bit older and have had the experiences of, you know, jobs or schooling and stuff like that, like 4 months can go by really fast when you're working hard. And that's what we're basically told that Kaori has done, right? She's done nothing but basically work her ass off since the day that Hajime fell. So 4 months is not unreasonable or unrealistic that at that point she is still obsessed.
Some very interesting, like there's some very interesting things that happen. For example, the quote unquote hero, the main dude, he is like, there's something very interesting about him as a character. Basically he's like this incredibly super talented dude, and because actually he's almost like the polar opposite of Hajime in a sense. So
he's the generic protagonist. Or the would-be protagonist.
What's funny about him is that he's like super talented. He's never lost. Every decision he's ever made has always gone his way, because just through sheer talent and his luck. And there's a really amazing thing that happens at the end of this volume, and we'll get into that later on. But there's a really good scene. And that's going to be a recurring thing for that particular character. But I just wanted to set that up first before we go in deeper.
Well, I mean, the thing is like, really for this volume, I mean, it didn't feel as rushed in the anime as, say, what they did to volume 2, which, I mean, glossed over so much. But I think it's because this volume, the problem I have with the anime, this volume, really there's just these two storylines. So there's Hajime and his group and Miyu finding this girl, rescuing her, and then, you know, traveling. And in the midst of that, we have the heroes party on this 85th, 89th, going on to the 90th floor of the labyrinth, and they're attacked by this demon and a whole bunch of monsters. And I kind of felt like the anime did a really bad job of the tension in that, because you have the heroes party getting like absolutely decimated in the first battle, and then they basically run and have to hide and everything else, and there's all this conflict between them because they're starting to break down and their nerves are on edge and everything else, and they're losing morale. Yeah, they're starting to turn on each other and all this kind of stuff. Like there was a lot going on, I thought, with that got really, glazed over. The anime really didn't cover it. And
listen, there's like a lot of conspiracies going on, and it doesn't, and not all of it involves Hajime. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, yeah, and a lot of these characters have their own motivations and their own ideas and everything else. And I think that, so the fourth book, I mean, quote unquote, not a lot happens. I mean, Hajime picks up this girl, says he's going to return her to her home. On his way, he does a drop off a letter for the guild master, and lo and behold, ends up in the city where, you stop, basically. Yeah, where it all started, and runs into one of his former classmates who's escaped and is kind of like, dude, like, you seem to be massively powerful. Help me save everybody else. And really, the only reason that Hajime agrees is because he's like, I owe it to Kaori to save her. Like, I could give a crap about everyone else.
Yeah, he goes down there, kicks fucking ass. All the people that thought he was weak and bullied him, they're fucking shitting bricks now. He kills the demon, and the hero's like, "Why did you kill her?"
She was disarmed.
She couldn't fight back. Like, that's the stupidest fucking, like.
Yeah, by the way, so this is where I want to dive into this character. So basically, as I've established, he's like the generic, basically, he's had life on easy street. Like, everything he's ever done has resulted, like, it always goes his way. I mean, they literally describe that in the book. It's everything he's done has always gone his way. And that's why he has this very sort of, like, idealistic fucking approach to things, because it's just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It'll go my way like it always has. And what happens with Hajime is that this time, for once in his life, it hasn't gone his way. And he has this person who was originally, like, incredibly weak, and it's just like, he's nothing, but now he's something, and he's got his own way, because the thing about this hero guy is that he's incredibly pure of spirit, which makes him incredibly easy to manipulate. All right, because he's never been proven wrong. Like, everything he's done has always gone his way, or it's always gone right. And even this guy's families and Kaori have always told him, hey, kid, you have to grow up. Like, you can't always just power through everything. Like, remember when I said that actions have consequences, and if you have enough might, you don't have any consequences to bear? This was this guy's life. Basically, he was like a Chad. He was just winning at everything. But for once in his life, he didn't win. He hasn't won. And he goes through this entire character arc questioning himself and questioning what he is about. And I'm up to the 10th volume, and he's still doing it. He's just like, what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong? I thought I was supposed to win. I'm the hero. Okay. I'm always right.
That sounds insufferable.
Yeah, it does, actually.
It is.
You know what?
It is.
Here's the thing. Well, and I think what I liked about that exchange between Hajime and Koki, the hero, was that the whole thing was that Koki did have an opportunity to kill the demon. And if he had, it would have saved a hell of a lot of trouble. And his teammates wouldn't have really needed Hajime to save them. Because then, like, the monsters wouldn't have been controlled, and most of them wouldn't have bothered on their own, or they would have been a lot easier to take out. And he couldn't kill somebody. He couldn't do it because he realized, oh my God, this is a person. And then I love how Hajime basically is like, dude, you're harping on me because I killed her. But, like, really, the only thing is because you're too weak. You were too weak to do what needed to be done, so I had to do it. And that's why you're angry at me. He's like, don't push your crap off on me just because you couldn't get the job done. And I really liked how, again, right, it's the funny thing about this book when you talk about what a hero typically is, which is show mercy, be the higher guy, and everything else. And then there's Hajime, which is shoot you in the head because you're going to bother me later.
Like Hajime is ruthless pragmatism, and this guy is like a fucking idealist. And he has what's the name of the swordsman chick? The chick of the sword.
Shizuku.
Like, he has Shizuku. Like, Shizuku, like, goes up and just like outright just says to him, like, I think Hajime was right. Maybe you should be questioning yourself. Or maybe you should realize that your idealism isn't going to get you anywhere in life. Because, I mean, if you want to be an idealist, that's great, but you have to realize something is that sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And he's basically just bitching at Hajime because Hajime was the guy with the stones to do what needed to be done. And while this continues for quite a few more volumes and stuff, I'm hoping it will lead somewhere good. But you sort of see this guy kind of questioning shit. All right, he's kind of like, because that's the problem with incredibly pure people like him, is they can be easily corrupted and turned into the most evilest, sickest, twisted people that you can ever see out there. All right, that's the problem with people like him. And that meeting with Hajime and the demon, that should have been his wake up call. But he's still fucking clinging to his idealism, and I'm hoping at some point he'll realize there's just some scenarios where he can't be right all the time.
And again, I think it's really worth pointing out that Hajime still stays true to himself. He offers the demon the chance to run. He says to her, you can go. If you take off now, you're fine. You live. He gives her that opportunity. I'm done. I've taken out your forces. You can get out of here. And if you run, I won't come after you. And she chooses to engage him as an enemy, and he's like, well, that's that. In fact, he tells her twice, remember? He's like, you know what, you can take off. If you run now, you'll live. And she's like, what did you say? And he's like, I think you heard me. Take off now, or, we're enemies, and if we're enemies, you won't live. So even, like, that's the thing I think I find most insufferable about Koki's kind of reaction to Hajime. Not only is Hajime right, he's probably angry because he realizes that if he had just had the stones to do the job, he would have saved everybody a lot of trouble. But it's also that
And it's his own like arrogance, because there's an arrogance to him.
Oh yeah.
Because I get it. It's like all this problem is coming from his own arrogance and pride.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. And and he doesn't even acknowledge.
And it's that purity that will damn him. Because if he doesn't realize what he did wrong, he will become evil. Because that's the problem with that's the problem with people like him. They always go twisted at the end.
Well,
without fail. I think
that but he totally fails to acknowledge that Hajime gave her a chance. He wasn't just some cold.
Yeah, that's a lot more than he gave most people. I mean, all right, he killed her. That was like, it's whatever. But he gave her a chance. He said to her, "Run, you can leave.
Yep.
All right, just you don't have to see me ever fucking again." And she could have just ran. She could have ran away. It's funny because it's also her pride as well that leads to her downfall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, exactly. It's her belief that, and I mean the book does go a ways to try and explain that at that point she should recognize that this guy just took out major players in her forces with zero effort, but that she is just so shell-shocked by it and just so, yes, angry, prideful, and everything else, she just won't give into it. She can't acknowledge.
I mean, that's admirable, but at the same time, like, if I saw shit like that, I'd be like, wait, this guy's giving me a chance? Like, fuck it, I'm getting out of here.
Yep, time to go.
There is no pride and honor to be. There is no pride in there's no pride and further glory to be gained if you're dead.
Well,
like it is better to lose the battle and survive, and it is better to lose the battle to survive the war.
Well, and as I said, it does show. I think that's the one thing with Arifureta that I will say that it accomplishes pretty well is that it I mean, I'm going to say, definitely it does swing a little hard sometimes one way or the other. But overall, I think it still manages to have a pretty edgy, angry, chuny kind of main character. But yet they still give him enough honorable stuff to him. They still give him opportunities to demonstrate that he's not a horrible human being so that you can still cheer for him. You can still be encouraged and say, yeah, I'm still on his side. Like I said, yeah, sure, he kills the demon, but she's already proven that she's just going to keep coming at him. So he's like, this is it. Like, I've got to solve a problem right now before it becomes bigger problems down the road. Yeah,
well, listen, she is a nail and he is the problem hammer.
So, of course, book 4 ends with Kaori confessing her feelings to Hajime, which I actually appreciated that Hajime had the stones to say, that's great, but I can't return your feelings because I'm in love with someone else.
That's bullshit.
Well,
I wish he did that at the beginning of the book because half this bullshit could have been avoided. But because he was a fucking cuck, I mean, and listen, moral of the story, being a beta male nice guy gets you nowhere. You have to have some balls and stones. You heard it from us.
Can someone explain this to me? Because this was a change in the anime where I was watching the anime and I was like, why did they do this? Can someone explain to me why Tio and Mew were in the dungeon?
Oh, I know. I thought that same thing. I was like,
wasn't the whole point in the book that he's trying to protect Mew? So he's like, yo, Tio. No, in the book, they get to the town and he's told about what's happening to Kaori and the party, and because his whole mission that he's currently on is to take Mew and bring her back to her parents. So he's like, Tio, you babysit Mew in the inn, so me, Shia, and Yue are gonna go in the dungeon and save them. But in the anime, they all go into the dungeon.
And it makes no sense.
Yeah, that's really fucking weird. I just realized. I just remembered that. Yeah, that's really weird.
It kind of reminded me of Shield Hero, because Shield Hero, after the big arc ended, they had the little mini arc at the end of the show, and they had fucking Melty on the island with them.
Oh yeah.
And in the book she's not there, but then they add her into the anime, but she does absolutely nothing. She's just kind of there. I'm just like, what? Why is she there? That's the opposite of what you'd want to do. And I thought it was and you would think, oh, it's because of the joke where Kaori thinks that it's his actual kid and that he's been sleeping with a bunch of women. But like they do that in the book also.
Yes. Yeah.
It just it just happens outside the dungeon instead of in the dungeon. Like,
what sentient race has a fucking gestation period of a few months? Like, Jesus.
I don't know. Different mammals, man.
Whatever, man. I mean, it's whatever. Like, well, they actually say that in the book, and in fact, that is the one thing that the anime totally omitted that is in the book, is that Shizuku actually says to Kaori, she's like, dude, the girl looks to be 4 years old. Like, there's no way she's actually his daughter. and that's when it says, like, Kaori, like, kind of comes to her senses. Like, it's just that she's so freaked out by hearing him called Papa that she doesn't think straight. But then Shizuku kind of goes, like, dude, like, get your head on.
Kaori is the yandere.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or...
She's also the healer, which is kind of frightening, because then she can just play with Hajime all day long, then heal him again, then play with him all day long, never ending and non-stop. If he thought the dungeon was bad, this is going to be 10 times worse, because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
I was saying that is it me, or Shizuku seemed a better match for Hajime than Kaori?
Absolutely.
Thank you. No, like
well, you see, she's a traditional Japanese woman, skilled with a blade.
There's another YouTuber that I watch all the time who does light novel reviews, and he describes, like, in the beginning he describes who all the characters are, and he describes Shizuku as the girl who should have been the protagonist, and yeah, she kind of comes off that way. Like, she's the most level-headed human character so far that I'd seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you see, she's got the way of the samurai.
It's just a shame that the anime has such terrible animation. So every time she's in a fight scene, it looks like she's swinging at air.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And also, like, to answer your previous question about the anime, like, I'm not totally sure, but I think that maybe the fact that they include sometime characters that were not there in some scenes is for the fact that they might be signing contract with the actors, that they need a specific screening time.
Oh, really? Okay, maybe.
Well,
maybe there's some consideration.
It's my hypothesis. Like, it's nothing confirmed or whatever, but it would make sense.
Well, maybe that's a thing.
They could have at least made it in a way that doesn't break, like, suspension of disbelief.
It made no sense. Because especially, like, when you figure, I mean, Hajime's makes it so clear. It's especially in the book, because they spend even more time together. It's very clear Hajime doesn't want to put Miyu into any kind of danger. Like, I mean, is she?
Yeah, and I don't care if she's being protected by a fucking dragon. Like fucking, I don't care if I have a child and they're being protected by Superman. I'm still not chucking them in the middle of a fucking battlefield.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, that's just not, it makes no sense. It's inconsistent with the character. It's inconsistent with the relationship that those characters had.
And also, it's inconsistent with his goal. He wants Miyu alive in one piece. Like, how would it be if he showed up at Miyu's parents? It's like, well, sorry about your little girl. She got ripped in half by a monster because I dragged her down to a dungeon. Here's the half of her that was able to be alive. She also called me Papa for a bit. It was so sweet. Here you go.
I think that, I mean, Jean-Luc's, I could be correct. I mean, it could have been some kind of contract issue. It could have been, who knows, right? It could have even been, and I hate to say it, but it could have even been them being like, the more screen time we have for these characters, the more merch we'll sell.
Yeah.
Like, I think that in the book, it's really easy for the author not to give a crap, like, I can have a character disappear for 300 pages and it doesn't matter. I'll just bring them back. But, when you have...
Yeah, like, they're around. Like, they're around somewhere.
And for the author, I mean, I'm going to sell the book, whether, like, most authors, they're only making money off of the book, right? So for them, trying to do something that pumps up the whole, like, merchandise thing, it doesn't matter. Whereas an anime where they're like, we probably won't make money unless we sell lots of merch, the priority for them is probably a little bit different.
Yeah.
So
now I would say the situation of you, like, if you, for example, had incredibly powerful, like, magic, or was incredibly powerful, for a girl of her age. I could understand maybe taking her down to the dungeon, but she is a defenseless little girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the point. Like, she's a defenseless little girl, and you know, it's just putting unnecessary risk. Like, she's safer at the inn with the dragon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and like Fly said, like the whole playing out thing of the whole Papa thing still works out.
She's just, you know, she's Hajime's adopted daughter.
They still had the daughter joke.
Yeah, it still worked. In fact, I think it made more sense. It made more sense in the book because, like you said, she hears in the anime, Miyu calls Hajime Papa on the 90th floor, and so from the whole time it takes them to get from the 90th floor all the way back out of the dungeon and then have all these people talking for a while, then she wants to address the whole Papa thing. It doesn't make any sense, especially that, like, yeah, by then...
Yeah, because in the novel, like, Tio and stuff meet up. Like,
that's what we're saying. They meet up after they get out.
Yeah, and it happens right away, and so it makes sense that Kaori all of a sudden doesn't think straight because she just hears this cute little girl call Hajime daddy, and all of a sudden, so she has this immediate emotional response in the book, so it makes sense that she's not thinking straight. But you're kind of like, you just hung out with these guys for probably hours, and you didn't figure out in that time that this girl's not his actual daughter, like, that just, yeah. I
mean, she doesn't even, she don't even look, like, I mean... Like, I doubt she could even pass off as his kid, even with the fucking fish features.
No, I don't think so. It's, you know what, I again, it's just one of those.
I mean, where's the missing eye and the missing arm?
I don't think that's how it works. But
no. It's just one of those. It's just one of those decisions.
And the silver hair and red eyes. Also, the black cloak and the
But hey, But she's got blue hair like Shea, so I mean.
I know, but she's got fish. She's got like fish, like gills or stuff.
It's just a recessive gene, dude.
Wow.
Actually, I actually think that one of the liberators was actually like part vampire. So, I mean, it could be.
Anyway, I'm just kidding around.
I don't know how fantasy races work when it comes to genetics and shit. Like, actually, there was like a board on 8chan trying to go into like the genetics of like monster girls and stuff.
Oh, we're so not doing that.
And, like,
boy.
They had like they had actual like
the monster girl brothel.
They had actual scientists on the board like discussing genetics and stuff.
Yeah, you know.
And,
okay,
like,
so yeah, you know what? We're gonna do this right now because that way I don't have to talk about it 3 weeks from now. Monster Musume no Oishasan, Monster Girl Doctor. Terrence just posted in the tweet that this has had an anime announced for it. And this is actually it's a light novel that's released by Seven Seas. So, yeah, so I mean, I'll put a link, I'll include that in the news thing, but you know, I'm not going to go deep on that, but it saves us having to talk about it 3 weeks from now. Anyway, yeah, we'll probably let's tie up this conversation because it's, you know, we're like pushing 2 hours and 30 minutes on this, and I think we've talked quite a bit about Arifureta and you know, the highs and lows and some missed opportunities, as well as some actually very good things that this series manages to do. I still think, you know, overall, when you're talking about in terms of light novels where they're talking that the characters have sort of a goal, I still think it has one of the better hooks, the whole you have to conquer each dungeon to get the magic at the bottom of that dungeon, which will eventually allow you to face the gods and find your way home. I think that still is a lot better than almost every other light novel, which is beat the demon lord, and that's all it does, you know. Like there's no direction, there's no goal, there's no quest in terms of it. It's just like find a way, have a nice day, see you later.
Yeah. Also, I actually like some of the scenes where he actually like sees the recordings of the liberators, like when he meets when he like has that hologram of Oscar.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy's name is Oscar.
Yeah, it's Oscar. Yeah.
Oscar. Yeah, like I actually really like that scene, and they skipped that in the anime.
No, they did that in this anime, but it wasn't as long as it was in the book.
Yeah,
he did see a hologram of Oscar, but it was cut shorter than what their conversation was in the book. In the book, Oscar tells him sort of the story of the liberators and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I actually like it. I actually like those scenes where the liberators leave behind their last messengers. It's like, you know, and it's like. And when I'm reading like Arifureta Zero, I'm like, oh, I'm so fucking sorry for you people. I'm so sorry.
I think that's the other thing. Like, I'll just say really briefly, that's the other thing where I was disappointed in the anime was that the second labyrinth that they conquer, Milady's labyrinth, it was actually really cool in the book, and I liked that it was so different from Oscar's, which was basically like conquer the 100 levels and then you're done, you know, conquer the big monsters.
Yeah, and also fun fact is she's still there.
Sort of, yeah. She's inhabiting like a body of like an automaton.
A golem.
Yeah.
I think it was.
And it's like, how old is she at this point?
Well,
I mean, she's been waiting for centuries upon centuries for someone to carry on the torch. And
that's the cool thing. Like I like, and that's what I mean. That's why I say like of a lot of the light novels where it's like there's some quest, you know, beat the demon lord, find your way home. I still think Arifureta has one of the better hooks. And the fact that, as you said, it's kind of cool because not only are you beating these dungeons just to gain a big weapon or whatever, but it's also interacting what's left behind of these liberators, and that these liberators, you know, in their desperation to try and save the world basically from all this crap, still went to all this work to leave these things behind for someone that would eventually come, you know?
Well, listen, they were not like there was only 7 left of them. They were the last remaining liberators that were left, because clearly there were more of them, but these were the strongest. These were the main team. Now, the cool thing about it is that they knew that while they may not be strong enough to overthrow the gods, there will be one day someone who can.
Yeah.
All they need is that spark.
They had that hope.
That's like, and that they kept that spark alive for thousands of years until one day that spark started turning into a fire. And then it became a raging inferno, which is Hajime, because he's a force of nature. And we should do an Arifureta Zero podcast at some point, because like it's so sad when you meet these people and you're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
You're like,
but it's okay. In 5,000 years time, an edgelord will avenge you all.
Yeah, you know what? I just, like I said, I do think that regardless of my gripes about some of the writing and that it's a little pedantic and like, oh, please stop telling me who it is because I know, you know, and some of the other stuff, I do think that the main structure of the story, having these dungeons and stuff, I think it's cool. And I mean, I don't know what the future dungeons are like, but man, like just even the differences between dungeon 1 and 2, it was really cool. And I thought it was very imaginative and inventive.
The dungeons, a lot of them like showcase the differences of personality. Like there's 2 dungeons that are very similar, but in like aesthetics, like they are totally different. And there's also another cool thing about the dungeon is that the dungeons are testing you on different aspects. Because
it sort of ties in. Yeah, I know what you're going to say. It kind of ties into the magic you learn at the bottom, or at least that's the way it was with the first 2.
Yeah, because remember, they leave these recording. It's like, hey, this is our story, and there's more dungeons out there. It's like, hey, if you want to slay the gods, take our power, take our wishes and our hopes, and maybe you will succeed at where we failed. And there are tests. Like, it isn't just like 100 levels of incredibly just more dangerous monsters. Like, there's tests of cunning, tests of courage, tests of whatever. It's tests of everything. Like, these labyrinths are going to test you. And if you pass, then here's the knowledge, here's the power. We don't care what you use it for, but if you're going to use it to fight the gods, then fuck on, kiddo.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's, you know what? It is a series that I think overall has a lot of stuff going for it. But yeah, the anime, as we've made very apparent, has done it no favors. However, the anime is getting a second season. And given
anime of the summer,
hopefully with a better budget.
Well, let's remember, we have to, the one thing that we have to remember, and Frog actually made this a little clearer on Twitter, is that Arifureta was greenlit, and halfway through its production, basically they scrapped everything, fired everybody, and hired like a new director. They created all brand new key art. They basically rewrote the script, readapted it. So, I mean, you've already spent money on all that production time ahead of time. Guaranteed they didn't go, oh, well, now that we're stopping halfway through, we'll just double up the money. guarantee they didn't do that. They were like, you know what? You've only got half of it left. Make it count.
I mean, like, I kind of agree that the original designs looked kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know what the original script was like, so I can't really say.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if the original script was any better or worse, but...
Like, there's times where, like, the anime version of a series will not go well, and it's because the author, they kind of just, like, tell the author to screw themselves and do their own thing. But this is pretty much, like, the complete opposite, where the author has way too much say, and he, like, isn't satisfied, and it pretty much ends up making the whole production a disaster because he demands a bunch of changes.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of stories, right? I mean, the one story is that it was because the author was so vocal about his displeasure with the artwork and stuff like that. There's also the story that it wasn't just because of the author; it was also because all the fans came out and were like, "That looks like garbage." So, I mean, like overall, like yeah, okay, we can sit here and say that there was definitely stuff that it's a shame they did not have more time for certain things. It's a shame that the CG was just junk. But you know what? At the same time, if it's a production that basically was done in half the time and half the budget of what it was supposed to be, it still didn't turn out terrible. And it was at least good enough that I'm hopeful that now that they'll actually have legitimately things in place, I'm hopeful that the second season will show a lot of improvement, but I guess we'll find out eventually. In any case, we'll end our discussion there of Arifureta.
Do you want to talk about what we're doing next?
Well, here's... Jesus, Bio Gundam, are you going to survive, bro? Holy...
yeah, I'm fine. It's just a bit of a light cold. Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, I changed the server to the name of what our next thing is.
Well, actually, that's not our next thing. That's our next thing.
Now.
We
oh fuck.
Sorry. So we were okay. So our next podcast was going to be J.K. Haru is a sex worker in another world. We are most definitely doing that. However, we all suddenly realized that Anime New York City is happening this coming weekend. So by the time you listen to this podcast, it'll have been last weekend. Oof, weird timing. But anyway, so Anime New York City is coming right up. J-Novel Club, when they announced those 2 licenses that I talked about at the beginning of the show, basically made it sound like they've probably got at least 10 announcements at Anime New York City. I imagine a bunch of those are going to be new licenses, but I imagine some of them will also be print editions, maybe even a new Kickstarter. I only think it's maybe a new Kickstarter because of how successful Rokujouma was. Too. Yeah, maybe some new manga. So there's lots of stuff they can announce, and basically all of the companies, Vertical, Yenon's basically been like, yeah, we got tons of stuff to announce. J-Novel Club. So all the major players in the light novel realm have said they've got announcements. So there's all sorts of stuff going on at Anime New York City. And, you know, every time there's been a big convention, we always sort of do one episode where we talk about all those licenses and talk a little bit more in depth than we do in just our news breakdown. So we will, so the next episode will be running down all of the announcements out of Anime New York City, anything that's light novel related, whether that be, you know, manga versions of, or print copies, or Kickstarters, or licenses, or whatever. We will be talking about that in the next episode, and then the episode after that is going to be J.K. Haru is a sex worker in another world,
which I'm looking very much forward to, because we're going to go dissect and look at the plights of the working women.
Oh man, you got to let that joke go, dude.
Never.
And we actually will.
I'm ready to get it over with.
And we will be talking about both J.K. Haru is a sex worker in another world and the sequel J.K. Haru is a sex worker in another world, Summer. So we'll be discussing both of those. If
I find Summer is more attractive.
If you have not read those and you want to listen to the podcast, make sure you do, because we're going to spoil the crap out of them. And honestly, J.K. Haru is not a book that you should have spoiled if you have any interest in reading it. It's definitely got material that is not going to be pleasurable or enjoyable for everybody. But nonetheless, it's got a lot of decent stuff in it. So we're going to be talking about that one. In the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with me for several hours. And fair listeners, again, thanks for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye for now. For show notes and related links, visit lightnovelpodcast.com.